3 years ago in high school, I had a girlfriend who loved to wear sexy black silk stockings. We had a falling out and I didn't try to make it up to her. During the silent treatment that followed, I saw her laughing with other guys, but I never asked about it. The very next day, I was recruited for a classified research project, forcing me to drop off the map under a new identity. 3 years later, having successfully completed my national security assignment, I returned. I desperately wanted to ask her if we had ever officially broken up. So, when I found out Chloe Davis was a sophomore at Westwood University, I turned down a professorship at Caltech and enrolled at Westwood as a freshman. Westwood University, Freshman Welcome Center. Chloe Davis sat calmly in a chair. Her quiet presence alone was enough to capture the attention and steal the breath of countless new students passing by. Her best friend, Jessica Reed, grinned at her. "Chloe, you really live up to your title as Westwood's campus queen. Look at all these freshmen. They see you and they're completely frozen. I bet they're already planning how to find out who you are." Chloe's expression was serene. "Let them. I'm not interested in dating anyway. Honestly, spending time with you guys, catching the evening breeze by Mirror Lake, or grabbing late-night food from the trucks outside the North Gate, isn't that more romantic than some fling?" But as the words left her lips, the sparkle in her eyes faded. She had once said those very same words to him. It was a shame that now, among all the students milling about campus, she might see someone with his eyes, or his nose, or even hear a voice with his inflection, but none of them were ever him. Seeing the shadow pass over Chloe's face, Jessica grew concerned. "Chloe, don't tell me you're still hung up on your ex who's been dead to you for 3 years? Even if you were in mourning, the 3 years are up." Chloe understood her friend's concern and forced a carefree smile. "It's not that I'm hung up on him. It's just that I can't seem to fall for anyone else." She then tugged on Jessica's arm. "Come on, don't just stand there. The main wave of freshmen should be arriving now. You should get to the main gate and greet them. Who knows? Maybe our department will get some cute guys you're into this year." Jessica's eyes lit up instantly. "You've got a point." With that, she hurried from the welcome center toward the main gate. Chloe let out a long, slow breath. How could anyone so easily forget their first love? With one simple turn, he had walked away with her entire world. Her eyes, slightly misty, blinked a few times, and she was transported back to a time of passing notes in English class, copying song lyrics during study hall, and dozing off in calculus. A summer breeze swept by, brushing a strand of hair across her face. Chloe looked up, a familiar sense of loss settling over her. "If only you were still here." The entrance to Westwood University. I stood with my suitcase in hand, looking up at the gilded letters spelling out the university's name. A ripple disturbed the calm surface of a heart that hadn't felt anything in years. My ghosting her back then must have hurt her deeply. I took a long, deep breath and started walking onto campus. As I did, I immediately drew the attention of several girls nearby. "Girl, look, quick. That freshman is so hot. Is that what they mean by tall, dark, and handsome?" I tuned out the chatter around me. I'd only taken a few steps when a girl with an orientation leader armband hurried over. It was Jessica Reed. "Hey, freshman, I'm an orientation leader. Let me show you where to check in." I didn't object. I had no idea where I was going anyway. "Thanks, I'd appreciate that." We'd barely started walking when I turned to her. "Excuse me, do you happen to know a sophomore named Chloe Davis?" "Of course." Jessica nodded, a playful glint in her eye. "You freshmen work fast, don't you? Barely on campus and you've already identified our reigning campus queen. What, you're interested in her too?" I smiled. "Chloe and I went to the same high school. She's the reason I chose to come to Westwood." Jessica looked surprised for a second, then gave me a knowing look. "Following your high school crush to college, huh? You kids don't waste any time. But if you went to the same school, you must have heard the stories about her, right?" I paused, confused. In high school, Chloe was always the model student. Other than being the most popular girl and a straight-A student, I couldn't think of any stories about her. Did her consistently ranking second in our class count as a story? Because I was always first. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I gave Jessica an apologetic look. "Sorry, I need to get this." She shook her head, signaling it was no problem, so I answered. "Professor Evans, it's Ethan Miller." A cheerful, middle-aged voice came through the line. "Ethan, my sincerest apologies. I was supposed to meet you at the gate myself, but a problem came up with one of the projects from upstairs. I couldn't get away. I'm truly sorry." I chuckled. "The project takes priority, sir." "I'm fine. I'm just about to get my student ID." Professor Evans pressed on. "I still don't get it, Ethan. With your level of research, you're already beyond a PhD. Why on earth did you suddenly decide you wanted to be an undergrad?" "I'll say it again. The moment you change your mind, I can file the paperwork to make you an honorary professor here at Westwood. I guarantee our offer will beat any other universities, hands down. I smiled. We'll see. For now, just let me have a break. Professor Evans relented. All right, you get settled in. Even though I'm off campus, if you need anything at all, just give me a call. I smiled. Will do, sir. I'll be sure to stop by once you're back. With that, I hung up. Soon, Jessica led me to the freshman check-in tables. She glanced around, noticing that Chloe was no longer sitting at the welcome desk. Jessica looked a little disappointed. Sorry, freshman. Looks like Chloe had to step out for something. You just missed her. I gave a small smile and nodded. It's fine. There's plenty of time. I'm sure we'll run into each other. Jessica's smile returned. You'll see her at the department orientation tomorrow anyway. Go on, get your stuff. I nodded and walked over to the registration table for my major. After they confirmed my acceptance letter, I signed the roster, picked up my dorm key and student ID, and headed for the residence halls. Not long after I left, Chloe returned. Jessica immediately rushed over to her. Chloe, your timing is the worst. I'm telling you, our department got this incredibly handsome freshman, and he said he went to high school with you. I'm telling you, he's totally here for you. Stop right there, Chloe said. I have zero interest in dating right now. Jessica countered. I'm not saying you have to date him, but he's a freshman from your high school. You should at least look out for him a little. You'll meet him at the orientation tomorrow. Then, Jessica added, his name is Ethan Miller. Ring any bells? At the mention of his name, it felt as if Chloe's heart skipped a beat. Her voice trembled slightly as she asked, what did you say his name was? Jessica looked confused. Ethan Miller. Is something wrong? Chloe shook her head, a wave of disappointment washing over her. No, it's nothing. Which way did he go? Jessica pointed in the direction I had gone. As Chloe's eyes followed her finger, she caught a glimpse of my back just as I turned a corner. For a split second, it was like seeing his ghost. But she quickly shook her head. Impossible. It must be a coincidence. Just someone with the same name and a similar build. Her body trembling slightly, Chloe stopped herself from running after him. Meanwhile, I found my dorm building. Using the number on the key, I pushed open the door to my new room. Before long, my other roommates arrived. The four of us figured out the age order. Leo Martinez was the oldest, Ben Carter was second, I was third, and Mike Johnson was the youngest. Ben Carter grinned. It's pretty cool we all ended up here from different parts of the country. I'm from DC, so I know this area pretty well. How about I treat everyone to dinner? Leo Martinez waved him off. No need to treat, we can all split it. But since you know the good spots, you can pick the place. I smiled and nodded in agreement. After 3 years, what was one more day? Over in the women's dorm, Jessica bounced over to Chloe. Chloe, what's the plan for dinner tonight? Chloe thought for a moment. Let's just go to the dining hall. I heard they have a new baked salmon that's supposed to be good. Jessica pouted. The dining hall on the first night back? We've been working all day. Let's go check out the food trucks by the north entrance, see what's new, maybe grab some snacks for the room. Chloe shot her a look. I think you just want to go scout the new freshman. Jessica giggled. Hey, don't call me out like that. Chloe turned to their other two roommates. What about you two? Feel like going out? The other two girls nodded eagerly. We're in. Chloe glanced at Jessica. I guess it has been a while since we all went out together. All right, let's go. After getting ready, the four of them headed out from their dorm. At almost the exact same moment, the four of us from my dorm arrived at the row of food trucks and found a barbecue joint. Meanwhile, Jessica, arm in arm with Chloe, scanned the area. All right, girls, what are we feeling? Where should we eat? The other two nodded. We're good with whatever. Jessica turned her gaze to Chloe. Chloe glanced around casually, her eyes sweeping across the various food stalls, and then she froze, a shiver running through her. There, at the entrance to a barbecue place, I was standing with Leo and the guys just heading inside. In that instant, Chloe's mind went completely blank. Her eyes were fixed on the restaurant I had just entered, her breath caught in her throat. The resemblance was uncanny. It was more than just the back she'd seen earlier. Just now, she felt like she'd truly seen someone who looked exactly like Ethan. He was even dressed the same as she remembered. A clean white t-shirt, slim-fit jeans, and that short, dark hair that was perfectly messy. For a second, Chloe felt like she couldn't breathe. She had never wanted to believe he was gone. Jessica shook her arm. Chloe, what are you staring at? Chloe snapped out of it. Let's get barbecue, she said to her friends. Barbecue and ciders are the perfect summer combo. The others readily agreed. With that, Chloe led them slowly toward the very same barbecue joint I had just walked into. With every step, her heart beat a little faster. Could two people in the world really look that identical? Or was it possible that, in that moment, the heart that had been numb for 3 years began to flutter with a dangerous hope? Whether it was a long shot or pure delusion, she had to see him, this boy who was the spitting image of the Ethan she remembered. By then, my friends and I had already found a private booth inside. I glanced at the menu briefly before tossing it on the table. I'm gonna use the restroom. You guys can start ordering. Meanwhile, Chloe and her friends came in and found a table in the corner. After getting menus, Chloe said to them, "You guys figure out what to order. I think I just saw someone I know. I'm gonna go say hi." Jessica's eyes lit up. "Someone you know? Is it a cute guy?" Chloe rolled her eyes. "Just order the food, Jess." She stood up and scanned the restaurant, but saw only unfamiliar faces, and her expression fell. Taking a deep breath, she began to check the private booths one by one, pushing open each door. Still not finding the face she was looking for, she would retreat with a disappointed murmur of, "Sorry, wrong booth." Finally, Chloe pushed open the door to our booth. Seeing her, Leo and the guys stared with wide eyes. "Chloe." Chloe gave them an awkward smile. "Hey." Then, noticing the 4-place settings, she asked, "Are you waiting for one more person?" Leo quickly replied, "Yeah, our other roommate, Ethan, just went to the restroom." Chloe nodded and gave them an apologetic look. "Oh, sorry. I thought I saw someone I knew. My mistake." She quickly backed out of the booth. As she turned, she saw the back of a guy in a white t-shirt walking down the hall. In that instant, her heart began to race. Taking a deep breath, she walked up behind him and gently tapped his shoulder. The guy turned around, and his face lit up when he saw her. "Chloe, hey, what's up? Were you looking for me?" Chloe's smile froze on her face. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she stammered. "I thought you were someone else. My bad." After apologizing again, she walked back to her table, completely crestfallen. Jessica immediately asked, "What happened? You look like you've seen a ghost." Chloe forced a smile. "It's nothing." Her gaze fell on the pitcher of hard cider on the table. "Hey, it's our first night out this semester. Let's have a drink. I'll start." She poured herself a full glass, tilted her head back, and downed it in one go. Meanwhile, I came out of the restroom and, without glancing at the main dining area, headed straight back to our booth. The table was already set with glasses of iced cider. When I walked in, the guys grinned. "Ethan, what took you so long? We were waiting for you. Come on." A toast to our new crew. I didn't hesitate, sitting down and raising my glass with a smile. "Cheers." After a few drinks and a lot of food, Ben, his face flushed, raised his glass again. "Hey, Chloe Davis is out there. Should we go over and say hi? She is supposed to be one of our orientation leaders, after all." My expression faltered. "Chloe was here?" Mike piped up, "Yeah, while you were in the bathroom. She must have had the wrong booth." She popped her head in for a second. "When I went out a minute ago, I saw her and her friends at a table, drinking." Leo nodded along. "Yeah, I saw her too. Man, she really is something else. She can really hold her liquor." I frowned slightly. Drinking? The Chloe I remembered wouldn't even touch the stuff. With a scrape of my chair, I stood up abruptly. The guys looked at me. "Ethan, where are you going?" A flicker of worry crossed my face, but I forced a smile. "I'll be right back. You guys keep going." I pushed open the door to our booth and stepped into the main restaurant. My eyes scanned the room and quickly landed on Chloe, who was downing glass after glass. At her table, Jessica and her other friends were looking at her with concern. "Chloe, maybe you should slow down. You're getting drunk." Ever since she had returned from looking for that acquaintance, they had sensed something was off. She seemed lost in her own world, just drinking one glass after another. At first, they thought she was just in a bad mood and had a few drinks with her, but they never expected her to go this hard. Chloe's eyes were glazed over. "I'm fine. I'll just finish this last one. Then I'll stop." Her hand trembled as she lifted the glass, her face bright red. Just then, a face she had seen only in her dreams materialized in front of her. It was blurry, but she knew without a doubt it was Ethan. "That's enough," I said, taking the glass from her hand and finishing it myself. I looked at her, my heart aching, then turned to her friends. "How much has she had?" Jessica pointed to the 7 or 8 empty cider bottles on the floor. "All of those. She drank them all." Chloe, completely drunk, looked up at me, tears welling in her reddened eyes. "I'm not drunk. Ethan, is it really you? You're finally here." Then she threw her arms around me, sobbing uncontrollably. "I promise, I'll never fight with you again. Just please, don't disappear on me again, okay?" My heart twisted. I gently patted her trembling back and looked at Jessica. "Where's your dorm?" I'll help you get her home. Jessica was stunned for a second, then replied gratefully, yes, please. We were wondering how we'd get her back. Thank you so much. I shook my head. It's no trouble. I slid one arm under her knees and the other around her back, lifting her into my arms bridal style, and carried her out of the restaurant. Back in our booth, Leo and the guys peeked out, their jaws dropping as they watched me walk away with Chloe in my arms. They were completely frozen. It was so sudden. One minute they were debating whether to go say hi to her, and the next, Ethan was literally carrying her away. What was going on? Chloe's other two roommates were just as baffled. In their year at Westwood, countless guys had tried to ask Chloe out. Rich kids, startup founders from off-campus, and she had turned every single one of them down flat. She barely gave any guy on campus the time of day. So why did she practically leap into this freshman's arms the second he showed up? Jessica was surprised too. Clearly, there was a story between these two, but as far as she knew, the only guy Chloe had ever been involved with was that ex-boyfriend from 3 years ago. Could Ethan be? The thought sent a shiver down Jessica's spine. Did he come back from the dead or something? Shaking off the crazy thought, she quickly paid the bill at the counter, and then she and the other two roommates hurried out after us. Chloe's eyes fluttered open. She stared at my face, just inches from hers, and wrapped her arms around my neck, clinging to me like a child. She whispered, her breath warm against my skin, Ethan, is it really you? You're back. Promise me you won't leave again, okay? I swear I'll never fight with you again. The sweet scent of her perfume mixed with the faint smell of cider. Holding her in my arms, watching her squirm with those hazy eyes, I was reminded that I was a young man, and her actions sent a jolt through me. I swallowed hard, looking down at her with an overwhelming sense of affection. I promise, I said softly, I'll never leave you again. Hearing this, she snuggled into my chest with a contented smile, her voice like a pouting child's. You promised. You can't ever leave again. If you disappear without a word again, you're a little puppy. A bad puppy? I nodded. I promise. Whoever disappears is a puppy. That seemed to satisfy her. She finally settled down, nestling into my arms and drifting off to sleep. I glanced over at Jessica, who was walking beside us. Is she always like this when she drinks? Jessica shook her head vigorously. Never. We go out for drinks sometimes, but Chloe is always so controlled. I've never seen her get this drunk before. She then let out a small laugh. Actually, this is the first time any of us have seen her drunk. It's crazy. She's usually so reserved, but when she's drunk, she's like a little kid. The other two girls nodded in agreement. I nodded slowly. I see. Then my eyes fell on the phones that Jessica and her friends were holding up. Are you guys filming this? Jessica's smile became a bit sheepish. Just capturing the moment. We're just getting some footage of her being drunk. We'll show it to her tomorrow to help her. Remember tonight? My eye twitched. I was about to say something, but then just sighed. Fine, film away. Just get my good side. Jessica and her friends burst out laughing. You got it. We walked a few more steps before Jessica gave me a curious look. Hey, freshman, you wouldn't happen to be that ex-boyfriend of hers? The one who's been dead for 3 years. I considered it for a moment. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, yeah, that's probably me. Her friends looked completely bewildered. But she said you were. You're wondering why she told you I was dead, right? I glanced down at Chloe, sleeping peacefully in my arms, a small smile playing on my lips. To be honest, I'm pretty curious about that myself. I paused, a playful smile spreading across my face. My ex-girlfriend, huh? Following Jessica's directions, I carried Chloe all the way to her dorm building. There, I carefully set her down on her feet, letting her friends support her. Please look after her tonight. They all nodded. Of course. Together, they helped a stumbling Chloe through the doors of the residence hall. I waited until they were out of sight before turning to leave. By the time I got back to the barbecue joint, the guys were still in the booth. The moment I walked in, all 3 of them stood up, looking like an interrogation panel. Leo's face was alight with curiosity. All right, Ethan, spill. What the hell was that? It's our first day here, and you've already managed to sweep the campus queen off her feet. I gave them a weary look. It's not like that. We knew each other in high school. Leo rolled his eyes. Don't play dumb with us, Ethan. Just friends don't get carried home bridal style. She has roommates, you know? Besides, we all saw her throw herself at you. Mike's eyes widened. Dude, are you the ex-boyfriend? The one she says has been dead for 3 years? Did you guys break up? You broke her heart, and now she tells everyone you're dead out of spite. I was exasperated. You guys are way off. I never did anything to hurt her, and we were never officially a couple. Hearing that, Ben grinned. From what I've heard, she never dated anyone in high school. So I get it. That dead ex-boyfriend is just a story she made up to keep guys away. In that case, maybe I have a shot. Leo shot Ben a glare. Get lost, man. Stop dreaming. He turned back to me. I'm calling it now with my finely tuned sixth sense. There is definitely a story between you and Chloe. All three of them stared at me, waiting for the drama. I sighed. We were never together. I didn't dump her. We were just classmates. Mike pressed. So you don't feel anything for her? I was silent for a long moment before answering. I do. Meanwhile, at a sprawling aerospace research facility in the Nevada desert, a group of top scientists sat around a conference table. Gentlemen, one said grimly, regarding the recent test flight failure, I'm open to suggestions. Just then, Professor Evans stood up. I know someone, he announced. He might be able to help us solve this. The person he was referring to was Ethan Miller. During the advanced lithography project, the base had hit numerous dead ends. But every problem they brought to Ethan was solved almost instantly. To the scientists who had worked on that project, Ethan was nothing short of a legend. Hearing this, Director Wallace, the chief designer for the 7th-generation fighter jet engine, turned his sharp gaze on Professor Evans. And who, exactly, do you think can solve this? Professor Evans said one name, Ethan Miller. Puzzled looks spread across the room. The name was unfamiliar to most. Ethan's current status was classified at the highest level. Only Director Wallace, among the group, showed a flicker of recognition. He looked at Evans. This Ethan Miller you're referring to, is he the chief designer from that other project you were on? As the deputy director of the National Science Foundation, Wallace was well informed. He remembered the special meetings the senior fellows had held to discuss nominating me for an award. He knew what I was capable of. Evans nodded firmly. The very same. Wallace looked skeptical. And you think you can get him to come here? As far as Wallace knew, the kid was currently slacking off as an undergrad at Westwood. And yes, he considered it slacking off. The old guard at the foundation knew exactly how gifted Ethan was. To develop 1 nanometer chip technology from nothing in just 3 years, single-handedly making the nation the world leader in semiconductors, Wallace wished he could lock the kid in a lab and have him work around the clock. Evans nodded. I can't make any promises, but it's worth a shot. Director Wallace considered this for a moment, a flicker of hope in his eyes. He finally nodded. Then give it a shot. The next morning, I was packing a bag in my dorm room while on the phone with Professor Evans. It's no problem, sir. I'll book the first flight out. I should be there by tonight. I hung up. Leo, just waking up, groggily scratched his head and looked at me. Ethan, what are you packing for this early? I replied, family emergency. I have to head out for a bit. The 7th-generation fighter engine project wasn't supposed to be my concern. But I understood that when I took this path, my life was no longer my own. Some jobs just had to be done. Leo was suddenly wide awake. You're leaving? Dude, what about freshman orientation camp? I answered, I've already cleared my absence with the university. Leo nodded, still looking confused. How long will you be gone? A week, maybe 2. I'll probably be back around the time camp is over. Leo was fully alert now. You're not just doing this to get out of orientation, are you? And leaving so suddenly, did you even tell Chloe? My hands froze over my suitcase. Meanwhile, in the women's dorm, the morning sun streamed through the window. Chloe rubbed her temples, which were throbbing slightly, and stretched. Jess, she asked her already awake roommate. What time is it? Jessica grinned. 7. Still early. You're not going back to sleep. Chloe sat up quickly, rubbing her eyes. Was I really drunk last night? I have this vague memory of hugging someone. Jessica laughed. Oh, I thought you'd completely blacked out. She pulled out her phone and played the video she'd taken the night before. Here, want me to jog your memory? Chloe groaned. You actually filmed it. Jessica held the phone out to her. See for yourself. Do you remember the guy carrying you? Chloe snatched the phone. When she saw the image on the screen, she froze. It was a video of Ethan carrying her back toward the dorms, and she could even hear his voice saying, just get my good side. In that moment, the memories came flooding back, and tears streamed down her face. As if terrified he would vanish again, she jumped out of bed after watching the video and stared at Jessica with wide eyes. Jess, how do you know Ethan? Where is he? Jessica explained, he's a freshman in our business program. He showed up last night after you were wasted. You basically threw yourself at him, and he carried you back. Then she asked cautiously, he isn't him, is he? The ex who's been dead for 3 years. Chloe didn't even have time to answer. She threw on some clothes and bolted out of the room. Jessica called after her helplessly, Hey, you're in such a rush. Do you even know which dorm he's in? Chloe yelled back over her shoulder, Send me the freshman housing list. The area in front of the men's dorm was quiet. I was walking slowly down the path, heading to the dining hall for breakfast, when I heard a trembling voice behind me. Ethan? I turned around. Chloe stood there, her tears wiped away, looking at me with a calm intensity. 3 years had passed. I looked mostly the same, though I was taller now, and the boyishness in my eyes had been replaced by a quiet maturity. My demeanor hadn't changed. I was still just as calm. Even though she had just seen me in the video, seeing me now in person, Chloe felt her heart stop. A heavy silence fell between us. Neither of us spoke. It reminded me of the last time we'd fought, when she'd angrily declared, "I never want to see you again." Back then, it was just a childish tantrum. Now, her silence was filled with curiosity, confusion, and a deep-seated resentment. She hated me for leaving without a word. Even if we were never officially together, didn't friends at least deserve a goodbye? I stood there, frozen, just looking at her. She looked the same as she had 3 years ago, just as beautiful, just as vibrant. On my way back from the research base, I had rehearsed 100 different opening lines for this moment. "So, you're an adult now? Got a boyfriend yet? How have you been? Congratulations on getting into Westwood." But now, standing in front of her, I had no idea what to say. 3 years ago, I had come into possession of something impossible, a legacy from a civilization beyond our own, an archive of infinite knowledge. Even now, I couldn't fully comprehend its scope, but it resided deep within my mind. It was by accessing a fraction of its contents that I developed the 1 nanometer chip technology, which was likely a trivial piece of information in the grand scheme of the archive. It was that technology, which I submitted to the government on a whim, that led to my sudden disappearance 3 years ago. Chloe and I stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. In those silent seconds, a montage of our high school memories played out in both our minds. The teasing from our classmates when we were called to the board to solve a problem together, cheering each other on during the final lap of the 3-mile race at the track meet, the hot fries we'd sneak in class, the brilliant orange sunsets we watched after school. Our high school years were defined by each other, but it was a shame. She had never held my sweaty hand after a basketball game, and I had never tucked a wind-blown strand of hair behind her ear. After a long, hesitant silence, I finally looked at her and asked, "So, I hear you've been telling people I died?" Her eyes widened, and the rims instantly turned red, as if 1,000 words were caught in her throat. She clenched her jaw, her voice a raw, broken shout. "I did. Aren't you supposed to be dead, Ethan? Why did you have to come back?" For 3 entire years, she had genuinely believed I was dead. And now, here I was, standing right in front of her. The words caught in my throat. I wanted so badly to explain everything that had happened, why I had to leave, what I had been doing. But given my current status, I couldn't reveal any of it. The explanations died on my lips. The specifics of my work over the last 3 years were classified. Not even my closest family could know. The contributions I'd made would likely only be declassified after my death. In the end, all I could manage was a quiet, "Regardless, it's been a long time." At that, her expression turned to ice. "I didn't want to see you. I only came to confirm whether you were actually dead. Now that I know you're alive, I'm leaving." She turned to walk away. "Chloe," I called out. She stopped and looked back at me. "What?" I said slowly. "I just wanted to tell you. I didn't break my promise." She let out a cold, bitter laugh. "Your promise?" She fought to keep her voice steady. "Ethan, what are we? Who do you think you are, that you can just disappear and reappear whenever you feel like it? For 3 years, I sent you so many messages, and you never answered a single one. You just vanished without a trace. Did you think that was cool? Did it make you feel powerful, knowing I'd never forget you? You disappeared. So why the hell are you back now?" She practically screamed the last sentence, unleashing 3 years of sadness, frustration, and anger. In the beginning, she had held out hope that it was just some stupid prank, that I'd just disappeared for the summer. She had planned to give me a piece of her mind when I finally showed up. But eventually, she gave up. 3 years without a single word, and she had almost managed to forget the life she'd had with me. And now, just when she was moving on, I had to show up again. Her words left me speechless. What could I possibly say? I had pledged my life to my country, leaving no room for promises to her. All I could do was sigh. I'm sorry I left without saying goodbye. It all happened so fast, and I didn't know what to say. The project was a state secret. Even my parents only knew I'd been recruited for a special government program. I had no regrets about serving my country, but when it came to Chloe, I was filled with guilt. Chloe bit her lip. "You don't have to apologize to me. We're nothing to each other. Come and go as you please. It has nothing to do with me." I looked at her, my guilt deepening. "I have to leave again. That family emergency. I need to go for a little while, but I'll be back by the time orientation camp is over, at the latest. Her expression tightened with concern. Is everything okay? But she quickly masked it with a cold facade. If you have to go, then go. You don't owe me any explanation. I managed a small smile. I've already cleared it with the administration, but you are one of our orientation leaders. It's only right to let you know I'll be absent, isn't it? Besides, to me, you're much more than just an orientation leader. She scoffed. I have no idea what you're talking about. She then composed herself. Is there anything else? If not, I'm going. No, that's it. I lifted my hand, wanting to smooth down a stray piece of her hair, but I stopped myself just before I touched it. This doesn't count as ghosting you, right? I'd rather not be a puppy. Whatever. Chloe's face flushed as she remembered her drunken words from the night before. She shot me a glare. If you have to go, then just go. You're so annoying. With that, she spun around and walked away. I stood there watching her go, a slow smile spreading across my face. Maybe I really was clueless when it came to romance. Back in her room, Chloe paced back and forth, furious with herself. Chloe Davis, can you have some self-respect? Why do you melt the second you see him? He disappeared for 3 years without a word. Did he ever once think about how you felt? And you're still worried about his family emergency? She took a few deep breaths to calm herself and made a decision. She wasn't going to let him off the hook for the past 3 years that easily. Meanwhile, at the airport, I was just stepping into an elevator heading for the departure gates when someone started yelling at us. Everyone out. Clear the elevator, now. I looked out and saw a massive entourage surrounding some pop star, with fans snapping pictures. I scoffed. There are a dozen of you. Can't you just wait for the next one? You don't own the airport. The pop star's assistant shot me a nasty look. What's that supposed to mean? Do you have any idea how tight K-King's schedule is? Our flight is boarding. Get out of the way. I didn't budge. How is your flight our problem? Everyone in this elevator has a flight to catch. Does being a celebrity give you special privileges? At this, some of the pop star's more zealous fans lost their minds. It's an honor for you to even share an elevator with K-King. Now move. If he misses his flight because of you, can you even afford to take responsibility for that? The pop star himself was starting to look annoyed. 2.5 years of fame had accustomed him to getting his way. He was the kind of celebrity who could show up 2 hours late to a movie set and make the entire production wait. But he was also media savvy enough to know that causing a public scene could backfire. A second later, a practiced smile appeared on his face. He waved off his assistant and bodyguards and said to me, "It's all right, I'm in a rush, but you all can go ahead. Everyone's busy after all." I rolled my eyes. We could have all been on our way in the time he took to perform this little act of fake generosity. His fans, of course, swooned over how gracious he was, while shooting daggers at me. I just shook my head, ignored him, and pressed the closed door button. It's true what they say, heroes die in obscurity while celebrity scandals are front-page news. As the elevator doors closed, the pop star turned to his fans, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Okay, everyone, let's not make a big deal out of this. It was just a small misunderstanding. Please don't post about it online. We have to go, so let's all just move on. His assistant quickly caught on, adding with a grin, "Yeah, everyone, let's just drop it. Remember, definitely do not spread this on the internet." Definitely not. Of course, while they said one thing, they were already planning how to spin this into a viral marketing moment. The fans hadn't even considered it, but the suggestion was all it took. Instantly, K-King's fan forums and group chats exploded. To them, K-King was a god, and disrespecting him was a crime worse than murder. Within minutes, K-King's rabid fanbase was all over the internet. Deceptively edited videos and posts denouncing me went viral, and I instantly became public enemy #1 on Twitter. Back at the Westwood dorms, Jessica was casually scrolling through TikTok when she saw a trending topic that was blowing up. Chloe, come look at this. Isn't this your freshman boy? He's getting absolutely roasted on Twitter right now." Chloe paused. "My freshman boy?" She took Jessica's phone and quickly read through the posts, her expression turning to one of disbelief. Are his fans completely insane? She immediately pulled out her own phone, went to the trending topic, and started firing back in the comments. Since when are celebrities gods? He didn't give up an elevator, so what? Was the guy in a rush to get to his own funeral? She was allowed to be mad at Ethan. He owed her that much. But no one else was. But she quickly realized her comments were being buried under an avalanche of hate. A flicker of real concern appeared in her eyes. At that exact moment, in a secure government office, a red alert began to flash. Multiple users are disseminating identifying information of a level 5 cleared asset online. Potential security breach. Countermeasures are ready, awaiting authorization. The director of the NSA, David Chun, saw the alert and exploded. What the hell is going on? Get every mention of Ethan Miller scrubbed from the internet. Now. And get a team on this. I want to know if foreign intelligence is involved. You have 10 minutes. This country can survive without me, but it cannot survive without him. Back at the airport, I got a call from Director Peterson. Ethan, don't worry about what's happening online. I'll take care of it. You just focus on getting to your flight. I wasn't too concerned, but just then, a group of girls in heavy makeup and trendy clothes stormed over to me. So you're Ethan Miller? You look smug enough. Weren't you in such a big hurry? Why are you still sitting here? You probably just wanted to start something with our K-King to get some attention, didn't you? You want to be famous? Fine, we'll make you famous. Before I could react, one of them dumped a bottle of water all over me, soaking me completely. Airport security saw the commotion and rushed over. Hey, what do you think you're doing? The girls glanced at each other and then took off running. As I was drying myself off with some napkins, my phone screen lit up. It was an iMessage from Chloe, who was clearly worried. Are you okay? My foul mood lifted instantly, but just as I was about to reply to her, my roommate Leo called. What he told me made my blood boil. Apparently, Chloe and her friends had been defending me on Twitter. In response, someone had dug up the fact that we were friends in high school, posted her picture, and now K-King's fans were attacking her. Until now, I had been willing to ignore those crazy fans. But this, I couldn't tolerate. I took a deep breath and looked down at Chloe's message again, my heart aching. She was in the middle of a digital firestorm, and she was still checking on me. After a moment's thought, I called her. She picked up immediately. Ethan, are you okay? I saw what happened at the airport. I heard those fans can be insane. They didn't hurt you, did they? I'm fine, really. Listen, don't worry about this anymore. Let me handle it, okay? Just stay in your room, put on a movie or something. By the time it's over, this will all be resolved. But her voice was frantic. How can you possibly handle it? The entire internet is attacking you. What can one person do? Her voice cracked, on the verge of tears. I tried to soothe her, then added playfully, you seem pretty worried about me. Does this mean you've forgiven me? In your dreams, she retorted, her pride kicking in. Don't get it twisted, Ethan Miller. I'm only defending you online because they're being bullies. That's it. Don't read anything else into it. I am definitely not forgiving you. Humph, she added silently to herself. At least, not this easily. She cursed her own weakness. They hadn't spoken in 3 years, but the moment I reappeared, her heart surrendered unconditionally, and all the pain she'd been holding on to simply evaporated. From the moment I saw her, I knew she was still the same Chloe, just with more walls built up around her heart. The only thing that mattered was that it wasn't too late for us. I smiled. We have plenty of time. When I get back from this family thing, I'll work on properly earning your forgiveness. She huffed. I'm done talking to you. I'm hanging up. Back in her dorm room, Chloe ended the call. She took a few deep breaths, fanning her flushed cheeks, then picked up her phone and resumed her role as a keyboard warrior, firing off more comments in my defense. After she hung up, I pulled a secure, encrypted satellite phone from my luggage and dialed a number. This is Ethan Miller, clearance number 7 Alpha Delta. I need a direct line to NSA Director Chun. Director Chun came on the line immediately. Dr. Miller, my sincerest apologies for this situation. Rest assured, your identity remains secure. The NSA is conducting a full investigation into all parties involved. Thank you, Director. But I have one more request. The girl from Westwood University who's been defending me on Twitter, I don't want her to be dragged into this any further. Not a problem. Consider it done. After hanging up, the director turned to his subordinates, gesturing at a large screen showing the trending topics on Twitter. What is this? I thought we were already running countermeasures. Why is this topic still gaining traction? An analyst replied, looking stressed. Sir, there are too many of them. We're playing whack-a-mole. We delete one wave of posts, and another one pops up. Director Chen's voice was cold as ice. Get every other agency on this. I want every mention of Ethan Miller wiped from the internet in the next 2 minutes. Go. At his command, a top priority directive was sent to every federal and military law enforcement agency in the country. The message was simple. First, this matter was not to be discussed, and second, arrests were authorized. The brevity of the directive told everyone all they needed to know. This was serious. Meanwhile, in the first-class lounge, K-King lounged in a massage chair, scrolling through the trending topic with a smug, contemptuous look on his face. Pathetic nobody, he muttered. Thinks he can take me on? I could ruin his life with a single tweet. His assistant chuckled. Your fans are incredible. It's been less than half an hour and this is almost the #1 trending topic. Your engagement is going through the roof. Just as they were celebrating, back at K King's talent agency, a frantic secretary burst into the CEO's office. Mr. Sterling, it's bad. The IRS is here. They have a warrant for all of our financial records. And there are other agents, FBI I think. They're all on their way here. The CEO, Mr. Sterling, was completely bewildered. Back at the airport, K King and his assistant's phones began ringing off the hook with sponsors pulling their contracts. Before they could process what was happening, 4 men in plain clothes approached them. We're with the National Security Agency, one of the men said, flashing a badge. You two are under arrest on suspicion of endangering a person of national security interest. Please come with us. K King was dumbfounded. All he did was try to get someone out of an elevator. He didn't even succeed. How did it lead to this? Who in the world was that guy? K King asked, his voice shaking. Can I at least know who that guy Ethan is? The agent's face was grim. You don't have the clearance to know his name. Before K King could even process that, he saw me sitting quietly in the main terminal. 2 of the agents immediately walked over to me. Mr. Miller, the online situation is contained. We've been assigned to be your security detail. I stood to thank them, then glanced over at K King with a wry smile. Hey, superstar. Good luck with your future. He lunged forward in a rage, but the agents holding him easily restrained him. A celebrity, however, has a loyal fan base. But their loyalty was tested when a flood of scandals about him suddenly hit the news. And just when they thought it couldn't get worse, 10 minutes later, the real bombshell dropped. According to the IRS, K King was being investigated for over $1 billion in tax evasion. That news turned the tide of public opinion against him instantly. Back in the dorms at Westwood, Jessica was practically shouting, Chloe, did you see? The feds got involved. Your boy Ethan really dodged a bullet. Chloe nodded. I saw. Then she added with a toss of her head, and for the record, he and I are completely over. The next second, her phone rang. Her expression immediately changed, and she put a finger to her lips. Shoo, it's Ethan. Jessica smirked. Totally over him, huh? He calls and you jump like that. Oh, shut up. Chloe rolled her eyes, took a calming breath, and answered the phone. Ethan, what's up? I'm about to board. Just wanted to let you know. Chloe nodded slowly, then her tone turned dismissive. We're not together, you don't have to call and tell me you're getting on a plane. It has nothing to do with me. Just then, the final boarding call for the flight to Nevada echoed through the terminal. I have to go, I said. I'll find you when I get back. And I still want to know what you meant by ex-boyfriend. Does that make you my ex-girlfriend? Chloe's face flushed. What ex-boyfriend? I don't know what you're talking about. Just get on your plane. Bye. She hung up, her heart pounding. Why did he have to bring that up? She had genuinely thought he was gone forever. How was she supposed to explain that? She couldn't just say, well, I liked you so much that when I thought you were dead, I posthumously promoted you to ex-boyfriend status. Then another thought struck her. The flight to Nevada. When did his family move to the middle of the desert? Before she could dwell on it, Jessica sidled up to her, grinning. Chloe, you know, the way you were on that call just now, you looked like a lovesick kitten. Jessica leaned in closer. Do you know what I mean? Chloe was confused. Like what? Like a lonely wife pining for her husband. If you still like him, just text him already. No way. Chloe shook her head defiantly. I'm gorgeous. It's not like Ethan Miller is my only option. Why should I have to be the one to text first? Meanwhile, on the plane, I pored over the data for the new engine project, trying to get up to speed. At 11 p.m., I arrived at Director Wallace's office at the Nevada base and handed him a flash drive. Director, here are my initial concepts and design schematics for the engine. Wallace plugged it in and began to review the files. His expression grew more and more serious. The level of detail was astounding. Just then, my personal phone buzzed. Excuse me, Director. Wallace chuckled. No problem. It's late. Must be that little girlfriend of yours from Westwood. I was young once too. Go on. Don't mind me. I glanced at the screen. It was indeed a message from Chloe. Landed safely? I typed back, yeah, just got in. Chatting with someone right now. What's up? Back in her dorm, Chloe saw my reply and felt a surge of anger. It had taken all her courage to swallow her pride and message me, and his response was that he was busy talking to someone else? He had time to chat with them, but not enough time to send a simple, I'm here message? So I guess 3 years of silence means we're not even friends anymore. Back in high school, he used to text me if he was going to be away from his phone for 5 minutes. Man, they're all the same. I was a fool for even messaging him. Chloe huffed and typed out a passive-aggressive reply. Oh, sorry to interrupt. I'll leave you to it. You can talk to her tonight. I'll check in tomorrow. Good night. I stared at the message, completely baffled. What was that all about? And what was with that tone? Wallace noticed my confused expression. Girlfriend trouble? When I was courting my wife, I was an expert at smoothing things over. If you need any advice, this old man has plenty to share. And so, one was bold enough to teach, and the other was foolish enough to learn. I sent Chloe the following message. Okay, you should get some sleep then. Make sure you use a blanket with the AC on so you don't get cold. Good night, you little monster. Chloe saw the message and her face froze. She furiously typed back, Ethan Miller, have you forgotten what it's like to have me mad at you? You little monster. I'll show you a monster, you jerk. I blinked at my phone, confused. Wasn't that a cute thing to say? I quickly messaged back, isn't that a meme? I see it online all the time. Chloe was fuming. The meme is good night, sweet dreams. You idiot, are you from the Stone Age? Jessica looked over, her eyes sparkling with gossip. Is your boy Ethan in the doghouse? Chloe gripped her phone tightly. I've decided. I'm not speaking to him for at least 3 days. Jessica muttered under her breath. I give it 24 hours. Director Wallace looked at my dumbfounded expression. So, did that smooth things over? Is she happy now? I forced a smile. Yeah. She went to sleep. The next morning, Chloe was sitting on the bleachers of the athletic field, ostensibly supervising a freshman activity, but she kept checking her phone. Jessica, sitting beside her, teased, What's up, Chloe? You got a boy hiding in that phone? You've been checking it every 2 minutes. Chloe pouted, her voice full of frustration. It's Ethan. I sent him a good morning text, and it's almost noon and he still hasn't replied. I know I said I was giving him the silent treatment for 3 days, but I didn't block him. I even posted a picture on Facebook of the freshman suffering in the heat, hoping he'd message me about it. I might have even answered, but no, I gave him the perfect opening and he's useless. Jessica raised an eyebrow. Didn't you just say you were giving him the silent treatment? Chloe's lip quivered. But he could at least try to message me. Seeing her friends pout, Jessica couldn't resist pinching her cheek. Oh my God, Chloe, could you be any cuter? She thought for a second, then added, if he's not messaging you, then forget him. There are plenty of guys out there. It's not like Ethan Miller is your only option. Chloe just shrugged. We'll see. She checked her phone one more time. Still nothing. That afternoon at the Nevada research base, dozens of the nation's top experts and professors were gathered in a single conference room. Most of them had been urgently summoned to the base with no explanation. As they murmured among themselves, Director Wallace finally entered the room, with me and another young scientist at his side. My presence caused a stir in the room. Who was this kid? No one here knew of my past accomplishments. The youngest researcher in the room was at least 30, and most were senior scientists in their 60s and 70s. Director Wallace scanned the room. Gentlemen, if I could have your attention. His serious tone immediately silenced the room. Even the other senior fellows from the National Science Foundation quieted down and turned their attention to him. After clearing his throat, Wallace continued. I've gathered you all here for a reason, but before we proceed, you will all need to sign an enhanced non-disclosure agreement. We will begin once the paperwork is complete. A moment later, an aide passed a sealed manila envelope to each person. When they opened them, they found documents stamped top secret in red ink. Top secret? This is a level 5 clearance protocol. What kind of project requires this? There have only been a handful of these in the nation's history. To be part of a project of this magnitude was a lifelong dream for every scientist in the room. Once all the agreements were signed and collected, Wallace cleared his throat. All right, the project we are about to embark on is the design and development of a functional warp drive. And the young man standing beside me, Ethan Miller, will be the lead director of this project. A skeptical voice cut through the stunned silence. Director Wallace, you can't be serious. A kid like him is going to lead this project. A murmur of similar questions spread through the room. Wallace didn't answer, but simply looked at me. I understood. I cleared my throat and stepped forward. Distinguished experts, professors, and fellows of the foundation. I know I'm young, and I know you're all wondering what I'm doing here. I can't force any of you to stay. I'll give you 3 minutes to decide whether you want to be a part of this. After 3 minutes, I will explain why I am here, and I will answer any and all of your questions. The room fell silent. A few of the scientists looked at me with a newfound respect. Regardless of my scientific credentials, To stand before them with such confidence already set me apart from any other young person they had ever met. 3 minutes later, no one had moved. A level 5 project was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and no one was going to walk away from it. Seeing that I had their attention, I began. The proposal for this warp drive initiative was mine. I have already completed the foundational theoretical work and have the preliminary research data. I will now walk you through my research framework and outline the specific areas where I will require your expertise. Feel free to raise any objections or questions as we go. A wave of hushed, excited whispers filled the room. A warp drive? He's actually done it. Have we gotten that old? This new generation is on another level. Once the initial shock wore off, we dove into the details. The meeting lasted for nearly 6 hours, ending well after 2 in the morning. I spent most of that time explaining the core principles of my warp drive theory and fielding complex questions from the assembled experts. When the meeting finally concluded, the room erupted in thunderous applause and excited cheers. The older scientists in the room felt a sense of relief. The future of American science was in good hands. A new generation was here, and it was more brilliant than they could have imagined. After saying my goodbyes, I retrieved my personal phone from a secure locker by the door and headed back to my temporary quarters. When I turned it on, I saw a message from Chloe, sent around 11 p.m. It was a simple good night. I smiled and typed back, "Good night, sweet dreams." A reply came back instantly. Well, look who it is. Our big important man finally has time to text back. I paused, then typed, "You're awake." Chloe gritted her teeth. Awake? She hadn't been able to sleep, other than a single good morning text. I hadn't sent her anything all day, and it had been driving her crazy. She had only sent the good night message in the hopes of getting a reply from me, and she had been waiting ever since. Taking a deep breath to compose herself, she typed back, "Couldn't sleep, was just talking with my roommate." Problem? No problem, I replied. So when are you going to sleep? Don't know, she texted back. After a pause, another message came through. Is your family emergency that demanding? You couldn't find 2 seconds to send a text all day. I replied simply, "It's been busy." She shot back, "That's great." She bit her lip, fuming. Asterisk, if you're so busy, then why are you texting me now? Just go be busy. Asterisk, but in the end, she didn't send what she was really thinking. Instead, she asked, "I was so mad the other day I forgot to ask. Ethan, you disappeared for 3 years. Don't you think you owe me an explanation?" But then she worried that sounded too desperate, so she quickly added, "Of course, if you don't feel the need to explain, that's fine too. It's not like we're anything to each other." After sending the text, she muttered to herself, "Asterisk, you jerk. Ethan, you disappear for 3 years, and I'm still being nice to you. You're lucky I'm even talking to you. You better have a damn good explanation for why you ghosted me." Asterisk, I hesitated for a moment before replying, "Chloe, can we please not talk about that?" She was so angry she wanted to throw her phone, but she took a breath and typed back, "Oh, okay, I'm going to bed then." I quickly texted back, "Are you mad at me?" She let out a small, self-deprecating laugh. "So the blockhead isn't completely clueless after all," she replied. "No, I wouldn't dare get mad at the great and busy Ethan Miller. What if you decide to pull another 3-year disappearing act?" I was taken aback and quickly replied, "I won't, I promise. There was a very good reason back then, but I swear I will never just disappear like that again." Her reply was swift. "You don't have to make promises to me. I'm not your girlfriend." I typed back, "Aren't we friends?" She replied instantly, "Just friends." I immediately wrote back, "Could we be something else?" "No," she shot back. She tossed her phone on her bed and buried her face in her hands. Asterisk, he's hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. How can he still not get it after I've made it so obvious? Asterisk, with a sigh, she picked up her phone again. "Forget it. I'm going to sleep. You should get some rest too, friend." I sent back a simple, "Okay, good night." She replied, "Yeah, good night." For the next few days, our conversations were brief and sporadic. I'd send a good morning, she'd send a good night, and I'd reply in kind. That was it. But seeing her name pop up on my screen was always a welcome respite from the intense work at the base. 10 days later, as the freshman orientation camp at Westwood was winding down, the main lab at the Nevada base was filled with thunderous applause. For 10 straight days, the team had worked around the clock to build the prototype that now stood before them. If this prototype worked, it would prove my theories were sound, and today would mark a new era in human history. The scientists murmured excitedly among themselves. "To see a functional warp drive in my lifetime, it's unbelievable. If this works, it will be the single greatest leap in propulsion technology the world has ever seen. This day will go down in history." A junior scientist approached me, holding a small console with a single red button. Director Miller, the honors are yours. I took a deep breath and pressed the button. Everyone in the room held their breath. The prototype hummed to life. A massive amount of energy surged through it, and the entire facility was bathed in a pulsating red glow. A calm, synthesized voice echoed through the control room. Ignition successful. Activating warp core. Warp core activation successful. Negative energy generator preheating complete. Firing containment lasers. Negative energy detected. Initiating high-energy particle collection. Warp field established. Current warp factor, 0.1. Preparing test object deployment. As the final countdown finished, a 50-kilogram steel sphere was dropped into the center of the warp field. Instead of falling straight down, the sphere shot forward, crossing the 100-meter test chamber in an instant and slamming into the reinforced blast door on the other side. Seeing this, a collective sigh of relief went through the room, followed by an eruption of cheers. We did it! The warp drive works. Scientists hugged each other, tears of joy streaming down their faces. Within 5 years, 10 at the most, the United States would unveil a fully functional warp drive to the world. Director Wallace's eyes were red with emotion. He had spent his entire life working on engines, watching American aerospace technology struggle and grow from its infancy. He had seen every setback and every triumph. More than anyone, he wanted to see his country lead the world in aerospace technology. And today he had. After the initial wave of excitement passed, I turned to the team and gave a slight bow. Thank you all for your hard work. The road ahead will be long, but we've taken the first step. As I straightened up, a wave of dizziness washed over me, and my head felt incredibly heavy. This is not good, I thought. I had pushed my body too far over the past 10 days. My energy was completely gone. I started to sway on my feet. Ethan, what's wrong? Director Wallace was the first to notice. He had noticed I seemed off all morning, but I had been running on pure adrenaline to see the test through. Now that it was over, that adrenaline was gone, and there was nothing left. I gave a weak, wry smile. Guess my body isn't what it used to be. Only 10 days of all-nighters and I'm done for. I knew what was happening. Complete physical exhaustion. I just hoped I wouldn't be out for too long. Chloe would start to worry. With the last of my strength, I glanced at Wallace. Sorry to be a bother again. The next second, my eyes closed, and I felt myself falling forward. The last thing I heard was Wallace's frantic shout. Medic! Get a medic in here. We need to get him to the base hospital now. High above the Westwood University campus, 4 of the nation's most advanced fighter jets screamed through the sky, escorting a military transport plane that flew steadily in their midst. Down below, students on their lunch break looked up, their expressions a mixture of awe and concern. Holy crap, a 4-jet escort. Who the hell is on that transport plane? Or what are they transporting? You don't scramble fighter jets unless it's something huge. A few students pulled out their phones to take pictures, but the normally laid-back orientation leaders were instantly on their feet. Phones away now. No pictures. If you took any, delete them immediately. As the leaders barked orders, the head coordinator's voice came over the PA system. All right, everyone, break's over. Put your phones away. Elsewhere in the DC area, others had also filmed the flyover. But strangely, any attempt to upload the videos failed, and any that did get through were scrubbed from the internet within a minute. Chloe watched the jet streak across the sky, and for some reason, her heart clenched with a sudden, inexplicable anxiety. Jessica noticed her friend's strange expression. Chloe, what's wrong? You look pale. It's nothing. I just feel a little off. Suddenly, Chloe shook her head, forcing a reassuring smile. I'm fine. I just need a minute. But her eyes remained glued to the sky, long after the jets had vanished from sight. 3 days later, in a VIP room at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in DC. After I was airlifted in, an order came down from the highest levels. Every top specialist in the hospital was summoned for a joint consultation, putting the entire hospital staff on edge. It was only after they confirmed I was suffering from nothing more than severe exhaustion that everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. Back on the athletic fields at Westwood, Jessica turned to Chloe. Hey, want to get some boba? No, thanks, Chloe replied, her voice listless. I'm not in the mood for anything. What's up with you? Jessica asked, concerned. You've been completely out of it for the past 3 days. Jessica's expression turned mischievous. This isn't about Nathan Scott, is it? I heard a rumor he's planning to ask you out at the welcome ceremony tonight. You're not stressing about that, are you? That's not it, Chloe sighed. 3 days ago, Ethan had sent her his usual good morning text, and then nothing. She had sent message after message with no reply. it was like he had vanished all over again. Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. As directors Wallace and Peterson were having a quiet argument by my bedside, my fingers twitched. I slowly opened my eyes, my gaze falling on the two of them. "My phone," I asked weakly. "Where is it?" Wallace shot up from the armchair and rushed to my side, his face ecstatic. "Ethan, you're awake." He then turned and yelled out the door, "Nurse! Doctor! Get in here. He's awake." I looked at the two of them, bewildered by their excitement. "I just fell asleep, didn't I, sirs?" I repeated. "Could one of you please get my phone?" Then I added, "How long was I out?" Wallace nodded. 3 days. He retrieved my phone from the bedside table and handed it to me. I turned it on, and the screen was immediately flooded with notifications. They were all from Chloe. "Good night. Did you stay up all night? Where are you? Ethan, don't tell me you've disappeared again." Still no reply? "Ethan, I'm giving you 30 more minutes. If you don't text back, I'm done with you for good." "Ethan, you jerk. This is your last chance. Text me back." "Where are you, Ethan? Ethan, I hate you." Then there were messages from my roommates. From Leo, "Ethan, emergency. The sophomore student body president, Nathan Scott, is planning to ask Chloe out at the welcome ceremony in 2 days. Is your family thing over yet?" Ben and Mike had sent similar warnings. "Dude, someone's about to steal your girl. Get back here." After reading through the messages, I looked up at the doctors who had just entered. "Excuse me," I said, "is it possible for me to be discharged today?" "What?" Before the doctors could even respond, Wallace and Peterson were in a panic. They both turned to me. "Ethan, why would you want to be discharged? If it's about the celebration ceremony tonight, we can have someone bring you over in a wheelchair. Or better yet, just skip it." The lead doctor approached my bed. "Mr. Miller, a discharge isn't out of the question, but can you guarantee you'll be fully recovered in the next 12 hours? I nodded firmly, then turned to the two directors. "What's the schedule for the ceremony tonight?" Wallace explained. "The ceremony is at the National Auditorium at 7. The president is scheduled to arrive around 7:30 to present the awards and give a speech. It should wrap up by 8, and then we're heading to the State Plaza Hotel for a formal dinner." I glanced at my phone again. The welcome ceremony at Westwood started at 8. I asked, "How far is the State Plaza from Westwood?" Peterson replied, "Not far. About a 10-minute drive." Wallace looked at me, shocked. "Ethan, you're not actually planning to go back to campus, are you? In your condition?" I just gave him a determined look. Wallace nodded slowly, a look of understanding on his face. "I see. Your girlfriend is cheating on you." I was speechless. Since when did he learn that slang? I wanted to cry but had no tears. "No, I'm not being cheated on. I just have something I need to do at school." Wallace cut me off. "No need to explain, Ethan. We get it. Now, what would you like for lunch?" I gave up trying to explain. "Anything is fine," I said. At that moment, a news alert was rocketing to the top of the national trending topics. National Science Foundation TO hold major press conference at 7 p.m. Eastern. All major networks to carry live broadcast. Stay tuned. The announcement sent Twitter into a frenzy. Holy crap, what did the NSF discover? This is huge. The major networks never pre-announce a government press conference like this, unless it's something massive. The hours ticked by. At 6:30 that evening, I changed into a tailored black suit. When I walked out of my hospital room, Wallace and Peterson, who were waiting for me, both did a double take. "Ethan, I don't think we've ever seen you in a suit," Wallace exclaimed. "You clean up nicely. Almost as sharp as I was at your age." Peterson chuckled. "It's good that you look the part. After all, you're the man of the hour. Even if you can't be on camera, you'll still want to make a good impression on the president." My identity was still classified, so any awards or medals had to be presented privately. No cameras would be allowed to capture my face. The most they would get was the back of my head. I nodded. Understood. I understood what he was saying, and I was fine with it. I hadn't gotten into this line of work for fame or recognition. After a few more pleasantries, the three of us left the hospital and got into the black government sedan waiting for us. A short 10-minute drive later, we arrived at the State Plaza Hotel, which was surrounded by a heavy security cordon. We were escorted to a grand ballroom on the top floor. The atmosphere inside was tense and silent. Even the press corps, after setting up their cameras, waited in respectful silence. Nearly 100 chairs were set up in rows, each with a name card on it. Wallace and Peterson's name cards were in the center of the front row. Mine was also in the front row but off to the side. Seeing it, I turned to them. "Sirs, isn't it a bit inappropriate for me to be sitting up here?" The other names in my row belong to the most senior fellows of the National Science Foundation. What's inappropriate about it? Peterson chuckled. You've more than earned your place in this row. Besides, the fact that you can't be on camera is already a shame. We're not compromising on your seat. And don't worry, the press here are all cleared. They've been briefed. No cameras will be on you. They'll only get the back of your head at most. He then sighed wistfully. In my day, we all worked in anonymity. But times have changed. When the time is right, Ethan, the entire world will know your name. It was the confidence of a nation at the forefront of science, a confidence I had helped to build. I hesitated for a second, then took my seat. Soon, everyone was settled, and the countdown clock showed 5 minutes until the press conference began. The online live stream already had over 1 million viewers. At that same moment, in the main auditorium at Westwood University, the students of the business school were gathered for their welcome ceremony. Backstage, Chloe stood in the wings, looking elegant and composed. Nearby, Nathan Scott, dressed in a sharp black suit, was adjusting his tie. Once his tie was perfect, Nathan walked over to Chloe with a smile. Nervous? Class rep? I'm fine, Chloe replied coolly, before taking a seat and pulling out her phone. Nathan was momentarily thrown by her indifference, but his resolve hardened. Tonight, he was going to make his move. Out in the audience, Leo and my other roommates were whispering amongst themselves. You think Ethan's going to be late, don't you? He just texted the group chat, Ben said. He's on his way, says he'll be here by 8:30 at the latest. Back at the press conference, the final seconds ticked away. At precisely 7 p.m. Eastern Time, the broadcast began. The live stream went live, and the image of the press conference filled television screens across the country. A distinguished, white-haired man stood at the podium. It was the White House Press Secretary, John Riley. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the press, and everyone watching at home. Welcome to this special press conference from the National Science Foundation. The room was instantly filled with the flash of cameras. Tonight's press conference has a single, momentous purpose, Riley continued, to announce a major technological breakthrough. After a 3-year intensive research effort, a team led by NSF fellow Dr. Peterson has successfully developed a 1-nanometer chip fabrication process. The advent of this technology will fundamentally alter the global technological landscape and represents a definitive end to foreign dominance in the semiconductor industry. A stunned silence fell over the room, and then the online chat for the live stream exploded. Oh my God, we have 1-nanometer chips. This is insane. We're number 1 in the world. Does this mean our phones are about to get a massive upgrade? The gaming performance is going to be unreal. On the other side of the world, in a lavishly decorated government building, the head of a foreign intelligence agency stood beside his nation's leader. On the desk between them, a laptop was streaming the press conference live. Their own top scientists had only just managed to develop a 3-nanometer process. For the Americans to have secretly developed 1-nanometer technology meant that every strategic plan they had concerning the US was now obsolete. They had lost the upper hand completely. The leader was rapidly flipping through a dossier. He tossed it on the desk and looked at his intelligence chief with a frown. Why are you showing me the file of a 20-year-old college student? The chief explained, Sir, that information was just brought in by our assets in the States. This young man, Ethan Miller, disappeared off the grid exactly 3 years ago. I've used every intelligence asset we have over there, and we can find no record of him for that entire period. He simply vanished, only to resurface a month ago. And most critically, sir, the Americans announced the successful development of their 1-nanometer technology just 1 month after he reappeared. We have strong reason to believe that this young man was not just involved in the project, but was a key figure. A cold, hard look came into the leader's eyes. Then find out for sure. And if it is him, you know what needs to be done. Back at the State Plaza Hotel, after Director Peterson finished his technical overview of the new chip, the internet was buzzing. Holy cow! Are those performance metrics even possible? I bet Director Peterson was dumbing it down for the public. There's no way that's all this chip can do. At the end of his presentation, Director Peterson picked up the microphone again. He glanced toward me, sitting in the corner, and then addressed the crowd. Finally, I want to make one thing clear. While I may have been the public face of this project, the true chief designer was someone else. Due to national security protocols, we cannot reveal this individual's name, nor will his face be shown on camera. But it was he who, 3 years ago, at an age when he should have been enjoying his youth, chose to leave everything behind to lead our team. He guided us through every obstacle, and it is because of him that we now have this technology and the Freedom 1 chip. He is a true national hero. On behalf of the National Science Foundation, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to him and to all the other brilliant men and women who work tirelessly in the shadows, dedicating their lives to science. This honor, this achievement belongs to them." Peterson's words sent a new wave of comments flooding the livestream chat. Wait, what? So the real genius behind this is someone else. 3 years of working in secret, and he has to stay anonymous. That's a real hero, not those celebrities. My utmost respect to all the scientists who work in anonymity. That's it. These are the people we should be celebrating. Then, one comment scrolled across the screen that captured the mood of the nation. Proud to be an American. In the next second, the chat was flooded with thousands of identical messages. Soon, the press conference was over. Director Peterson came over to me. "Ethan, let's go. The president is waiting for you in his office." I froze for a second, my heart starting to pound in my chest. I had met plenty of high-level officials during my 3 years at the base, but they were all from the scientific and military sectors. I had never met the president. I took a breath, smiled, and nodded, following Peterson out of the ballroom and up to a secure office on the top floor that was serving as the president's temporary workspace. The room was large, with a simple but elegant decor. An elderly, distinguished-looking man was sitting at a large desk. On the desk in front of him lay a formal certificate and a small, polished wooden box. As Peterson led me into the room, the man stood up. He looked surprised for a moment when he saw how young I was, but his expression quickly softened into a warm smile. He walked over and extended his hand. "Dr. Miller, it's an honor to finally meet you in person. The future of this nation's scientific progress rests on the shoulders of brilliant young people like you." I nodded. "I was only doing my duty as an American citizen, sir." The president laughed heartily. "A duty well done. You've performed an incredible service for this country." He released my hand, his smile warm. "Your 1 nanometer technology has solved a critical national security issue. From this day forward, our country will no longer be dependent on foreign nations for this vital technology. And that is thanks to you." I smiled humbly. "I only provided the theoretical framework, sir. The credit belongs to the entire team. I couldn't have done it without them." The president chuckled. "You're far too modest, son." He then returned to his desk, his expression turning formal. "Dr. Ethan Miller, on behalf of a grateful nation, it is my honor to present you with this award." I stood at attention. The president read from the certificate. "For his role as chief designer, for his tireless work over 3 years, and for leading the national research team in the successful development of 1 nanometer chip technology, a monumental achievement for the nation, Dr. Ethan Miller is hereby awarded the National Medal of Science and is granted the title of Senior Fellow of the National Science Foundation." The president walked over and handed me the certificate. "Take it, Ethan. You've earned it." I nodded, my hands trembling slightly as I accepted the award. He then returned to his desk and picked up the small wooden box. Opening it, he took out a heavy, ornate medal. "Furthermore, in recognition of your extraordinary contributions to the nation, I hereby award you the Presidential Medal of Freedom. May you continue to strive for excellence and lead our nation to even greater scientific achievements." With that, he carefully pinned the medal to the lapel of my suit. After straightening my collar, he looked at me with a sincere expression. "I'm sorry this has to be done in private, Ethan, but I promise you, when the time is right, I will personally present this award to you again, in front of the entire nation." I nodded solemnly. After taking my leave of the president, I left the suite. In the hallway, I checked my phone. It was just a few minutes past 8. I got into the waiting black sedan, and we sped off in the direction of Westwood University. Back in the university auditorium, Leo was getting antsy. "What's taking Ethan so long?" He said he was on his way. The ceremony's already started. Just then, Mike looked at his phone. "He just texted the group. Says he's on his way. Be here in 10. Leo relaxed, but then Mike spoke again. "Oh guys, look at the class group chat. The orientation leader just posted. The girl who was supposed to perform for our class got sick and went to the health center. They're asking if anyone else can play the piano. Any of you guys play?" Leo and Ben both shook their heads. "Not me." A second later, a new message appeared in the class group chat. It was from me. "I can. I'll take her place." I then sent a message to my roommate's private chat. "How long until our class's performance?" Leo replied, "About 30 minutes. "Good. I'm almost there." I jumped out of the car, thanked the driver, and sprinted to the auditorium entrance. When my roommates saw me dressed in a suit, they all did a double take. "Holy crap, Ethan, you finally made it." Ben looked me up and down. "Where'd you get the suit? You look pretty sharp, almost as good as me." He completely overlooked the Presidential Medal of Freedom pinned to my lapel. probably mistaking it for a fancy pin. I didn't have time to chat. Where's Chloe? I asked urgently. Mike shrugged. Where do you think? She's backstage. Take me to her, I said. Leo shook his head. We can't, dude. It's performers only backstage. No, Ben said with a grin. We can't, but you can. I had no idea you played the piano, Ethan. I nodded. Learned as a kid. Leo slapped me on the back. Well, what are you waiting for? Let's go. Backstage. Ben approached the senior who was running the show, a charming smile on his face. Hey, sorry to bother you, but would it be possible for us to change the piece our performer is playing? The girl looked annoyed. Are you kidding me? You already switched performers at the last minute, and now you want to change the song too? If every group did this, we wouldn't have a show at all. I know, I'm so sorry, Ben said, practically bowing. It's just, the new guy isn't as familiar with the original piece. Please, just let us switch it. The girl's tone was frosty. Where is this new performer? Have him come talk to me himself. Ben scratched his head. My roommate Ethan is a little shy, not much of a talker. He's right over there. Please, can you just make an exception? The girl glanced over at me, and her eyes widened slightly. That's the guy who's playing? After a moment's hesitation, she spoke again. I know that piece, A Maiden's Prayer. It's about a young girl's hopes and dreams. Is he planning on playing it for his girlfriend? Ben froze for a second, his eyes darting around before a grin spread across his face. Girlfriend? Him? No way. Honestly, I don't think Ethan's ever even held a girl's hand in his life. A slow smile spread across the stage manager's face. Is that right? Okay, I'll approve the song change. But I'm sticking my neck out for you here, so you have to do me a little favor in return. Ben nodded. Name it. After the show, I want his number. Ben gave her a thumbs up. You got it. When Ben returned to our group, Leo immediately asked, Did you handle it? Ben grinned smugly. Of course. When I'm on the job, charming a senior is easy. Leo pressed him. How'd you do it? Ben shrugged. Made a little trade. The stage manager has a crush on Ethan. In exchange for the song change, I have to give her his number after the show. Leo and Mike shot me a surprised look. Dude, are you really okay with that? But Ben had another question. Ethan, why were you so set on playing that specific song? I answered quietly, because I promised someone I'd play it for her at our high school talent show. But I had to leave before the show ever happened. Ben's expression was thoughtful. And that someone was Chloe? I nodded. Yes. Half an hour flew by, and soon Chloe and Nathan Scott were handed the revised cue cards for their hosting duties. As Chloe held the new card, ready to announce the next act, her eyes fell upon the name written there. She froze, her mind going completely blank. Nathan Scott noticed her pause. Chloe? What's wrong? Chloe took a deep breath, shaking her head slightly. Her voice trembled as she spoke into the microphone. And now, please welcome freshman Ethan Miller from the business program, performing the piano solo, A Maiden's Prayer. As she finished, stagehands rolled a grand piano out from the wings. The stage manager hurried over. Okay, Ethan, you're up. She gave me a bright smile and a thumbs up. Break a leg. I nodded, then walked slowly from the wings, up the small steps and onto the stage. My eyes found Chloe standing on the opposite side, her face an unreadable mask. I walked to the piano, gave the audience a slight bow, and took my seat on the bench. A single spotlight illuminated me, and on the large screen behind the stage, the camera focused on my profile. A wave of excited whispers and cheers rose from the girls in the audience. Oh my God, look, that guy on stage is gorgeous. He's a freshman this year? No way, he's way too hot. I swear, I need to know everything about him in the next 3 minutes. Then, the gentle, melodic notes of the piano began to fill the auditorium. From his position in the wings, Nathan noticed Chloe's troubled expression. Chloe, are you okay? He asked quietly. He had sensed a shift in her the moment I walked on stage. Chloe just shook her head. I'm fine. As she looked up, her eyes met mine across the stage. She immediately looked away, her gaze darting nervously. I sighed internally, pulling my gaze away and focusing completely on the music. When the final note faded, I stood, walked to the center of the stage, and bowed to the audience. Before leaving, I stood for a moment and gave Chloe one last, long look, then walked down the steps and off the stage. Chloe quickly composed herself and went back on stage with Nathan to introduce the next act. As they walked off, she said to him, I need to take care of something backstage. If I'm not back in time, just announce the next one yourself. With that, she hurried off in her heels, the hem of her long dress trailing, chasing after me. Chloe had just stepped off the stage and into the backstage area when I grabbed her by the wrist. Come with me for a second. She didn't resist, her face a blank mask as I pulled her into the empty hallway. The moment the door closed behind us, she yanked her arm free. She stared at me, her eyes cold as ice. Are you done, Ethan? Are you done with your games? You disappear for 3 days without a word, then you show up out of nowhere and put on a little show. Why did you drag me out here? Do you think this is funny? Did you just want to see what a wreck I've been? I looked down, filled with guilt. Chloe, I didn't know what to say. I couldn't exactly tell her I'd been unconscious in a military hospital for 3 days. Don't you Chloe me, she snapped, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. I'll admit it, Ethan. I had a huge crush on you in high school. I was even happy when I found out you were alive. I still had feelings for you. That's why I ran to your dorm that first morning. But that doesn't give you the right to mess with my head over and over again. The first time you disappeared, I let it go. But now you do it again for 3 days. What were you doing? You didn't answer my calls, you didn't answer my texts. Do you think just because I like you, you can treat me however you want? Chloe, I swear, it wasn't on purpose, I pleaded. There was a reason I couldn't answer you for these past 3 days. I came to Westwood for you. Please just give me one more chance. I promise, I will never just disappear like that again. She scoffed. Is that your explanation? I stammered. Something really did come up. Then tell me what it was, she demanded. What could possibly be so important that you couldn't even send a single text? I sighed. I can't tell you. A look of complete disappointment washed over her face. Fine, then don't. Ethan, I don't care why you disappeared 3 years ago, and I don't care why you're here now. I'm done caring. I've had 3 days to think, and I'm done. Text back, don't text back. Go wherever you want, do whatever you want. From now on, your life has nothing to do with me. That way, I won't have to live in constant fear of when you're going to disappear next. I'm so tired, Ethan. I don't want to like you anymore. She was practically screaming by the end. We're done. Let's just stay out of each other's way. From now on, we're strangers. With that, she walked past me, her face a stony mask, and pushed open the door back into the main backstage area, drawing the eyes of everyone inside. A moment later, she was back in her position in the wings of the stage. A single, glistening tear escaped and traced a path down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away. Taking a deep breath, she buried her pain and forced a bright, professional smile onto her face. The cold shoulder had been an act, but this was where the story had to end. Maybe if she truly let go, she wouldn't have to live with the constant fear of him disappearing again. Her chapter with him was finally, truly over. I watched her walk away, the words to stop her dying on my lips. After a long moment, I turned and left. Back in the wings, Nathan hurried over to Chloe's side. Chloe, are you okay? What happened? It's nothing, she said, shaking her head, her expression vacant. She ignored him after that, her empty gaze fixed on the performance on stage. She had recognized the song I played, but a promise fulfilled 3 years too late was meaningless. The 2-hour ceremony flew by. After the final performance, Chloe and Nathan went on stage to deliver the closing remarks. Just as they finished and the audience began to file out, a single spotlight suddenly swung to focus on Nathan. He had clearly arranged this beforehand. A moment later, a student from the wings rushed out and handed him a large bouquet of red roses. The cameras projected the image onto the large screens, and the students who had been leaving quickly returned to their seats, their faces alight with anticipation. Nathan took the microphone. If I could just have a few more minutes of your time, he said to the audience. I hope you'll all bear witness to this moment for me. He then turned, holding the bouquet out to Chloe. Chloe, from the very first moment I saw you freshman year, I've been completely in love with you. And now, in front of our entire department, I'm telling you how I feel. I've had a crush on you for a year, and I've tried to show you for a year. I want to get to know you, to see the world through your eyes. I don't know when it happened, but I can't imagine my life without you in it. So today, I'm asking you to give me a chance to be the one who stands by your side. A hush fell over the auditorium, followed by a wave of excited whispers. Oh my God, a public confession in front of everyone. It's so romantic. Is it romantic? Feels more like he's putting her on the spot. No wonder she hasn't gone out with him after a year of him trying. This is basically emotional blackmail. But Chloe is the queen of Westwood. I heard he's been after her for a year, and he comes from a rich family. Maybe she'll say yes. From my seat in the audience, Ben muttered under his breath, what a manipulative jerk. How is she supposed to say no in front of all these people? He then turned to me. Ethan, just say the word. You want me to go up there and do something? I can't stand guys like this. But before I could even respond, Chloe spoke into her microphone, her voice clear and steady. Nathan, I'm sorry. I know you're hoping I'll say yes. But for me, to be with someone, I have to truly, deeply like them. And unfortunately, I can't like you in the same way you like me. So I can't accept. Her expression hardened. And Nathan, I have told you very clearly before that I'm not interested. This is the last time I will say it. There won't be a next time. Let me give you a piece of advice. When you keep pushing on a door that won't open, that's not love, that's harassment. Her voice wasn't loud, but the microphone carried her words to every corner of the auditorium. With that, she placed the mic on the lectern and walked off the stage without a backward glance. Leo shook his head. Wow, that guy is persistent. She couldn't have been clearer, and he still doesn't get it. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. All right, I said to my friends. Show's over. Let's head back to the dorm. The guys all agreed. I glanced one last time at Chloe's retreating figure, then turned and followed my roommates, a new resolve hardening in my heart. My duty and my love for her didn't have to be mutually exclusive. I wasn't going to give up that easily. On the main campus walkway, Jessica looked at her friend in awe. Chloe, that was incredible. The way you shut Nathan down was legendary. I feel a little bad for him, though. That was a pretty brutal rejection. Are we really just going to leave him there like that? You want to be his girlfriend? Chloe shot back, rolling her eyes. I don't like him. He's the one who decided to make a big public spectacle. What was I supposed to do? No means no, and no grand gesture is going to change that. If he's going to pull a stunt like that, he should be prepared for it to blow up in his face. I'm not going to enable that kind of behavior. Fair enough, Jessica conceded. So, let's change the subject. Did your freshman boy, Ethan, find you backstage? What happened? Chloe's face instantly hardened. Don't talk to me about him. From now on, he and I have nothing to do with each other. As far as I'm concerned, he died 3 years ago. Oh, Jessica said, taken aback. She could tell Chloe was in a volatile mood. The way she said my name, it was like she wanted to commit murder. Okay, new topic, Jessica said with a nervous laugh. She held up her phone. Look at this. The National Science Foundation just announced they've developed 1 nanometer chip technology. We're finally going to have domestically produced, top-of-the-line chips. I'm definitely buying American for my next phone. Not interested, Chloe said, her mood still foul. She glanced at the screen dismissively, then turned away. But a second later, her head snapped back, and she grabbed the phone from Jessica's hand. Wait, let me see that. She stared at the photo from the press conference that was going viral on Twitter, zooming in to examine every detail. Jessica was confused. It's just a picture from a press conference. What's so interesting? Chloe was frozen. Was that Ethan? The photo only showed the back of his head, but the person sitting in the aisle seat of the front row, the suit, the set of his shoulders, it looked exactly like him. She could be mistaken about other things, but she would never mistake the way I held myself. She remembered the medal pinned to my suit jacket, which she hadn't paid much attention to at the time. But now, seeing this photo, a wild, impossible thought began to form in her mind. Could his 3-day disappearance have been because he was at this press conference? Was she just seeing things? Chloe was filled with doubt. Ethan was just a freshman. How could he possibly be at an event like this? The people there were the top scientists in the country, and he was sitting in the front row. It was impossible. And yet, she knew she wasn't mistaken about that silhouette. Was she going crazy? Jess, we're going back to the dorm. Chloe couldn't think straight. She kicked off her heels and started running barefoot down the main campus walkway. Back in their room, she found the high-resolution version of the photo online, studied it for another minute, then opened her laptop and started searching frantically. Red ribbon, gold star, eagle in the center. What medal is it? The search engine returned a flood of images. The Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Service Cross, the Silver Star, the Legion of Merit, dozens of different military and civilian awards. Many of them looked similar to the one I had been wearing, but none were an exact match. Jessica peered over her shoulder. Chloe, what are you looking for? Chloe quickly closed the browser tab. Nothing, just looking something up. I'm done now. Then she asked, Hey Jess, what kind of people do you think go to those big National Science Foundation press conferences? Jessica thought for a moment. I guess the senior fellows from the foundation, top researchers, maybe some high-level government officials from the Department of Science and Technology. Yeah, that makes sense. Chloe nodded slowly, then let out a small, self-deprecating laugh. What had she been hoping for? That he had been at that press conference under some kind of NDA, and that's why he couldn't contact her for 3 days? It was absurd. And even if it was him, what did it matter? They were over. Back in my dorm room, I changed out of the suit, carefully unpinning the Presidential Medal of Freedom and placing it in my desk drawer. Then I grabbed a change of clothes and headed for the showers. At 10:30 that night, I was at a karaoke bar in downtown DC with Leo and the guys. The outing was organized by our class's acting president, who raised his glass to the room. Freshman camp is finally over. We've got tomorrow off, so tonight, nobody's going home sober. A chorus of cheers went up. Thanks for treating us, Mr. President. He just grinned. My pleasure. Now, let's get some songs queued up and get this party started. After that, people started singing, drinking, and chatting. The acting president made his way over to our table, his eyes landing on me. You must be the last one to join our class, right? Nice to meet you. I nodded slowly. He immediately raised his glass. Well, welcome to the class. Here's a toast to you. Quickly shook my head. Sorry, I can't. I haven't been feeling well the last few days. Leo quickly raised his own glass. Hey, Mr. President, Ethan's not feeling great. I'll drink with you. The acting president's smile faltered for a second, but he recovered quickly. All right then, you and me. After they downed their drinks, the acting president walked away. I thought for a moment, then turned to Ben. What's that guy's deal? He seems a little too eager. What do you think? Ben said with a smirk. You missed orientation, so you didn't see it. The guy's a total social climber. Volunteered to be acting president on day one. He organized this whole thing to try and make the position permanent. College is basically a microcosm of the real world, and nobody who gets into a school like Westwood is an idiot. This isn't being high school class president. It's a position of leadership in a department at a top university. Having that on your resume opens doors after graduation. It's a valuable title. I see, I said, finally understanding. I turned to the guys. I'll be right back, just going to the restroom. But this was a huge, confusing karaoke bar in the middle of downtown DC. I wandered around for a few minutes and couldn't find the men's room anywhere. Just then, a group of men and women came sprinting out of a nearby hallway. My first instinct was to get out of there. What was going on? A brawl? Acting on pure self-preservation, I turned to leave. But then I heard several men shouting from behind the running group. Police! Stop right there. Don't move. I glanced back and saw several men in pursuit. I picked up my pace, but I'd only gone a few steps before one of the pursuers grabbed me by the collar. Freeze! I stopped dead in my tracks and turned to face him. Is there a problem, officer? Police! He grunted, yanking me backward by my collar. You're coming back to that room with me, and then you're all going down to the station. Why? I asked, completely bewildered. I hadn't even found the bathroom yet, and now I was being arrested? What had I done? What is this about? I asked again. Like you don't know, the cop sneered. It's a vice raid. What the hell? I blurted out. A vice raid? Why are you arresting me? I haven't done anything. I'm innocent. That's what they all say, the cop said with a humorless laugh. If you're so innocent, why were you running? Now shut up and get back in the room. With that, he shoved me back into the karaoke room he'd come from. Inside the dimly lit room, about a dozen men and women were being held, with more being brought in. I tried to explain again. Officer, I'm telling you, I'm not with them. I'm here with my friends. I can call them right now, they'll vouch for me. One of the plainclothes cops looked me over, then at the others in the room and finally nodded. Fine, make the call. I quickly pulled out my phone and called my roommate's group chat. But with the loud music and the drinking, no one picked up. The cop asked, do you remember your room number? I thought for a second. I just followed the guys in, completely lost. I scratched my head. I forgot. Actually, I never knew it in the first place. The cop's expression soured. Then you can just wait here with the rest of them. Once we get you down to the station, if your story checks out, you can leave. The precinct isn't far. You can have your friends pick you up from there. Have my friends pick me up? An idea began to form in my mind. Just then, the door to the room opened. Two men in dark, unassuming suits walked in, approached the plainclothes officers, and discreetly flashed their badges. Officers, we can vouch for this young man. He's not involved. We'll be taking him with us. And you are? The lead officer asked, taking the offered ID. He flipped on the main lights to get a better look. When he saw what it was, his posture immediately straightened, and he gave a sharp salute. Sirs. It was an NSA badge. I looked up at them. You're from the NSA? The two agents returned the officer's salute, then turned to me and nodded. Mr. Miller, we're your new security detail, assigned by the director. My expression immediately turned sour. Gentlemen, with all due respect, I'd advise you to mind your own business. The two agents looked at each other, completely baffled. Asterisk, mind our own business? We're here to get you out of trouble. Asterisk, just then, my phone rang. It was Leo. Ethan, you called before? What's up? I answered, it's nothing. Something just came up. You guys have fun. I'll catch up later. Are you coming back tonight? He asked. It depends, I said vaguely. All right, well, handle your stuff then. The room fell silent again. The actual criminals squatting on the floor looked at me with utter confusion. Asterisk, what is this guy's deal? Federal agents show up to spring him, and he tells them to get lost. His friends call to give him an alibi, and he blows them off. Does he actually want to get arrested? Asterisk, just then, one of the other detainees stood up. Hey, officer, I can vouch for this kid. He's not with us. You should let him go. You stay out of this? I snapped at him, then turned back to the lead cop. Officer, once you take me downtown and confirm I'm innocent, I can call someone to come pick me up, right? The cop looked completely bewildered. Yeah, that's standard procedure. Perfect, I said with a nod. So when are we heading out? If we wait too much longer, the dorms at my university will lock up for the night, and the person I need to call won't be able to get out. Who are you planning on calling? The cop asked, his patience clearly wearing thin. The NSA was here to clear you, and you refused. What was my game? Was I just messing with them? I just smiled. As for the reason she'll have to come, well, I got arrested in a vice raid, didn't I? The two NSA agents exchanged a look, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and exasperation. Asterisk, this was the national asset, the scientific genius they were supposed to be protecting? Was the kid completely insane? Asterisk, I then turned to the two agents. So, have you guys been following me this whole time? They glanced at each other, and one of them typed a message on his phone and showed it to me. Due to the recent online security breach, we've been assigned to your protective detail to mitigate any potential threats from foreign entities. My expression softened. Thank you. I appreciate it. I then turned back to the local cops. So, I thought this was a legitimate karaoke bar. What's with the vice raid? And how had they actually managed to catch people in the act? One of the officers explained, we got a tip that this place, while legitimate on the surface, was running a private prostitution ring for its VIP clients. We've had it under surveillance for weeks. Tonight was the night we moved in. I nodded. Got it. So, when are we heading to the station? Right now. Soon, all the actual suspects, plus me, the willing participant, were loaded into a police van. Of course, there was nothing to interrogate me about. With the NSA agents there to smooth things over, and the security footage confirming my story, I was cleared after giving a brief statement. The two NSA agents melted back into the shadows. Their job was to protect me, not to be seen with me. I checked the time on my phone. It was 11:20 p.m. I still had 40 minutes before the dorms at Westwood locked for the night. After a moment's thought, I picked up my phone and sent a text to Chloe. Chloe, help me. Her reply came back instantly, first a single question mark, then another message. What's wrong? I got arrested in a vice raid, I texted back. I need someone to come get me. She was stunned. Her next message was blunt. Ethan, are you insane? She was furious. Arrested in a vice raid? The innocent boy she knew 3 years ago had gotten arrested in a vice raid? What in the world had happened to him in the last 3 years? The next second, a 60-second voice note appeared. I could only imagine the string of curses it contained. I wisely chose not to listen to it. A moment later, another text came through. Can't your roommates come get you? Why does it have to be me? What are we? Anyway, I can't reach them, I lied. Come on, for old time's sake? You wouldn't leave me here, would you? It was a misunderstanding. I'm innocent. All they need is someone to sign me out. Chloe was speechless. After a long, conflicted pause, she sent a one-word reply, wait. She was exhausted from the welcome ceremony. The last thing she wanted to do was run all over town, but it was Ethan. Half an hour later, Chloe walked into the police precinct. Can I help you, miss? The officer at the front desk asked. Chloe sighed. Yes, I'm here to pick up someone named Ethan Miller. I believe he's being held here. The officer grinned. You must be the girlfriend. Had a little fight, did you? Well, you can go ahead and take him off our hands. He's not my boyfriend, Chloe said coolly. Then her curiosity got the better of her. What do you mean, take him off your hands? The officer chuckled. Oh, your boyfriend's story is already the talk of the precinct. He was at a karaoke bar with his friends, got caught up in one of our raids by mistake. His story checked out on the spot, but he insisted on coming down to the station anyway. Said he had to wait for a friend to come get him. The officer added with a laugh, young love, huh? Nothing a good talking to won't fix. You know what they say, never go to bed angry. I have to say, your boyfriend is pretty dedicated to go to all this trouble just to see you. In all his years on the force, he'd never seen anyone voluntarily come to the precinct just to get his girlfriend's attention. Chloe forced an embarrassed laugh. Right? Well, Sorry for all the trouble. Following the officer's directions, she soon found me sitting in the waiting area. The moment the officer was out of sight, her expression turned to ice. She strode over to where I was sitting. Asterisk, he dared to lie to me. Ethan Miller, you are so dead. Asterisk, she stopped in front of me, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Ethan, are you actually insane? Didn't I tell you we were done? Did you not understand what that meant? I've heard of being dense, but you take it to a whole new level. Did you really drag me all the way down here just so I could yell at you? For this, you came to a police station. Why didn't you just get yourself thrown in a cell for a few days to think about what you've done? I looked up at her, my voice quiet, because being locked up in a cell would be better than you never wanting to see me again. Chloe was momentarily stunned. Have you ever seen a 6-foot-tall guy look at you with the eyes of a kicked puppy? Especially when that guy has a face like mine. Are you trying to look cute? She snapped, her expression hardening again. Stop playing the victim and get up. Do you want me to hit you so hard you'll be in debt to your insurance company? I met her gaze without flinching. I've had all my shots. I'm not afraid of you. She almost laughed in exasperation. Oh right, a man who's not afraid of getting arrested, what's to be scared of? If you're so brave, you shouldn't have texted me to come get you. I hunched my shoulders slightly. I'm not that brave, I admitted, my voice a mixture of earnestness and cowardice. She sighed, rubbing her forehead. Let's go. Or were you planning on spending the night? I silently stood up and fell into step beside her like a chastened husband. Once we were outside the precinct, she stopped and looked up at me. We need to talk. Okay, I agreed. Just then, my stomach let out a loud growl. Hungry? She asked. Yeah, then let's get something to eat while we talk. We walked in silence for a while, finally finding a small barbecue joint on a quiet street corner. After we ordered, Chloe asked the waiter for 2 cold beers. When they arrived, she opened them, poured one for herself and one for me. She raised her glass. A drink first. I looked at the beer, the doctor's words from that afternoon echoing in my head. Stick to a light diet for the next couple of days. No smoking and absolutely no alcohol. Got it. But a second later, I nodded without hesitation, raised my glass, and clinked it against hers before downing the entire thing. The cold liquid sent a shiver through me. A second later, I snuck a glance at Chloe from the corner of my eye. She caught me immediately. What are you looking at? I hunched my shoulders again. Nothing. Then stop looking. I can't help it. Her expression softened, and she didn't press the issue. She put down her glass and looked at me. All right, let's hear it. Why did you go to all this trouble to get me to come out here? I looked at her, her tone still sharp. Could you try not to sound so hostile? No. Okay, I said, a genuine note of disappointment in my voice. I looked up at her. I just wanted to properly apologize. 3 years ago, I had a very good reason for leaving without saying goodbye. And these past 3 days, something unexpected happened. That's why I couldn't text you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I made you worry. Oh, so you do know how to apologize, she said, a surprised, humorless laugh escaping her. When you ghosted me 3 years ago, did you ever think you'd be apologizing for it one day? And as for the last 3 days, I'm not mad anymore. You don't have to apologize. I shook my head stubbornly. I can tell by looking at you that you're still mad at me. No, I'm not, she said, her voice firm. Yes, you are. I said I'm not. Okay, I conceded meekly. If you say so, I muttered under my breath. Asterisk, damn it, I never felt this henpecked at the research base. What is this? 3 years apart and she's gotten a temper. Asterisk, she looked at me, her eyes narrowed. Are you bad-mouthing me in your head? How did you? I quickly composed myself and shook my head. No, of course not. I would never dare. Liar, she pouted. I can see it on your face. You're totally cursing me out in your head. I looked at her stubbornly. Well, you told everyone I was dead. She was speechless. So you dragged me all the way down here just to argue? No, I said, shaking my head quickly. To sincerely apologize. And how are you going to do that? I could write you a 1,000-word apology letter? She shook her head. Not sincere enough. 1,500 words? Still not enough. 3,000. Nope. Okay, how about 2,000? Ethan, she exclaimed, glaring at me. Are you seriously trying to bargain? Then you tell me. What do I have to do for you to forgive me? She thought for a moment. It's simple. You either tell me honestly what you were doing for the last 3 years, and why you disappeared for the last 3 days. You tell me that, and I'll forgive you, and we can be friends again. Otherwise, we can't even be that. She looked at me expectantly. So tell me, I'm giving you an out here. Just tell me something, even if it's a lie. Maybe I'll forgive you. I was silent for a long moment. Why are you so fixated on what happened 3 years ago? Can't I be? No. So there's nothing left to say? No, wait, we can talk. A bead of sweat trickled down my forehead. This was why women were so impossible. I would rather go back to the base and work on the warp drive. I'd rather solve one of the Millennium Prize problems. Anything would be easier than this. Then why can't you tell me? Because I don't want to use it to get your pity? I said, taking a deep breath and channeling my inner actor. 3 years ago, I got sick. My family moved to DC so I could get treatment. What kind of sick? Leukemia, I said, forcing the word out. Leukemia? Chloe stared at me, her eyes instantly welling with tears. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you just send me a text? Did you think it was cool to just disappear and suffer all by yourself? Do you have any idea how worried I was about you for 3 years? She was practically shouting by the end. Her words sent a jolt through me. I hesitated for a moment, then reached out and gently took her hand. Chloe, I'm so sorry. It wasn't that I didn't want to tell her the truth, but from the moment I made my breakthrough, I knew my life was destined to be one of anonymity, lived in the shadows. I felt a deep sense of guilt toward her, but I had no regrets about my service to the country. Chloe quickly composed herself, dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. Her voice was cool again when she spoke. You don't have to apologize. I just don't understand. If you were just sick, why couldn't you have told me? But at the thought of me having had leukemia, her voice trembled. Even with leukemia, with modern medicine, it's not a death sentence. But I was scared, I said, my voice low. I was scared I wouldn't make it off the operating table. I was scared I would never get better. I sighed. And most of all, I was scared I couldn't make you any promises. Back then, even with the knowledge I possessed, my own future was a complete unknown. I couldn't promise her anything. With no clear future, no certain return date, how could I ask her to wait for me? Chloe looked at me, her eyes filled with pain. So how did you get through the last 3 years? By looking at your pictures, I said with a small smile. I saw every photo you posted on Facebook. I saw how you did on your exams. I saw when you were sick with a cold. I watched you grow up, from 16 to 19. During those long, grueling years at the base, scrolling through her Facebook feed was my only escape. And the last 3 days? She asked. I was in the hospital for my final procedure, I explained. The anesthesia was strong. I was out for 3 days. But the doctors say if there's no relapse by the time I'm 25, I should be in the clear. It was a promise to her and to myself. By the time I was 25, I would ensure that America's technological dominance was absolute. And when that day came, I would stand before her, in the light, and proudly tell her that the boy she once knew had become a man worthy of her. It won't relapse, she said, her voice firm and her eyes clear. All right, let's drop it. The food should be here any minute. I asked, so, does this mean you forgive me? Nope. Then what else do I have to do? You're paying for dinner tonight. After we finished eating, I paid the bill and we left the restaurant. So where to now? I asked her. She looked at me and said simply, a hotel. I hesitated. Isn't that a little fast? Maybe we should wait. She rolled her eyes. Get your mind out of the gutter. The dorms are locked for the night. Did you think we could get back in? I meant we should get rooms at a hotel. Unless you want us to sleep on the street. Right, I nodded. Just then, a cool breeze swept through. It was late, and the night air had a chill to it. Chloe shivered, rubbing her hands together for warmth. A little cold? I asked, moving closer and reaching for her hand. She immediately pulled away. Hey, what do you think you're doing? I thought we were just friends. Are you trying to take advantage of me? I scratched my head awkwardly. I just saw you were cold. I was just trying to warm up your hands. There are boundaries between men and women, she said, a faint blush creeping up her cheeks. So I'm not your ex-boyfriend anymore? That was just a story for other people. Oh, okay, I said, a little disappointed. Just then, she held her hand out to me. Warm them, she said softly. I couldn't help but smile. I thought there were boundaries between men and women? Fine, then don't, she said, starting to pull her hand back, but I quickly caught it in mine. Finally, we walked into a nearby hotel. Hi, 2 rooms, please, I said to the clerk at the front desk. The clerk glanced at our intertwined hands, then looked back at me with a bored expression. We only have the deluxe honeymoon suite left. $400 a night, plus a $200 deposit. Take it or leave it. I hesitated, then looked at Chloe. Should we try somewhere else? She quickly checked her phone. Seeing that every other hotel in the area was booked, she looked back at the clerk. Does the room have a sofa? It does. The clerk nodded. Chloe turned to me. Then we'll take it. She then explained, Everything else for a mile is booked. We'll just get the one room. You can sleep on the sofa. I'll take the bed. Okay, I agreed. Since neither of us had our physical IDs, we used the digital versions on our phones to check in. But when we opened the door to the room, the first thing we saw was the giant king-sized bed in the center, covered in a heart-shaped pattern of rose petals. Chloe's face instantly turned bright red. I was stunned for a second, then looked at her awkwardly. Should I clean that up? Okay, I'm just going to use the restroom, she said quickly, practically fleeing into the bathroom. She turned on the cold water, splashed her face, and looked at her reflection in the mirror. Get a grip, Chloe, she whispered. Get a grip. By the time she came out, I had managed to sweep all the rose petals into the trash can. So, do you want a shower before you go to sleep? I asked awkwardly. This was, after all, the first time I'd ever been in a hotel room with a girl. I showered before we left, she replied quickly. What about you? I did too, I stammered. Then let's get to sleep, she said. She took a deep breath, sat on the edge of the bed, grabbed a spare pillow, and tossed it onto the sofa. You can just sleep on the sofa tonight. Yeah, no problem, I said, nodding as I lay down. But just then, a series of rhythmic, strange noises started coming from the room above us. We both froze, our faces stiff with embarrassment. Well, I said, trying to break the awkward silence, let's just turn off the lights and get some sleep. Chloe nodded, and without even changing, she scrambled under the covers and switched off all the lights. After about 20 long, awkward minutes, the noises from upstairs finally stopped. Moonlight streamed through the window. Chloe's eyes opened in the darkness. Ethan, she whispered, are you asleep? No, I replied, my voice trembling slightly. The hotel's AC was blasting, and I was starting to shiver on the couch. She was quiet for a moment. What's wrong with your voice? Are you cold? She hesitated again, then said, You can sleep up here, but there's an imaginary line down the middle of the bed. No crossing it. My eyes shot open. Well, if you're going to say that, I'm suddenly not tired anymore. Perhaps sensing my enthusiasm, she quickly added, I just don't want you to get sick, Ethan. Don't get any funny ideas. And don't you dare try anything. Before she could even finish her sentence, I had leaped from the sofa and onto the bed. In the quiet darkness, our eyes met. As I slid under the covers, her eyelashes fluttered nervously. You better not move. I won't move a muscle, I promised, nodding seriously. A second later, she let out a small gasp. You said you wouldn't move. Why are you holding my hand? I'm scared of the dark, I said. Chloe was silent. If I believe that load of crap, I'll believe anything. But she squeezed my cold hand in hers. Fine, she huffed. Just holding hands. No more moving. I nodded. The room fell quiet again, the only sound our soft, even breathing. Half an hour later, my eyes snapped open again. This was ridiculous. I would have been better off on the sofa. The bed was warm, sure, but there was no way I was going to get any sleep. I peeked over at Chloe. Her breathing was slow and steady. She seemed to be asleep. Reassured, I finally let myself drift off. In reality, Chloe hadn't been asleep at all. She watched me for a long time, and only when she was sure I was completely out did she finally let her own tense body relax. But a second later, she shot my sleeping form an indignant glare. Asterisk, a beautiful girl is lying right next to you, and you actually fell asleep? Are you even a man? Asterisk, which just goes to show that women are the most adorable and most complicated creatures in the universe. 1 minute, they don't want you to try anything, and the next morning, with the noon sun streaming through the window, Chloe's phone suddenly rang. Who is it? Chloe mumbled, annoyed, fumbling for her phone on the nightstand. She squinted at the screen, saw it was Jessica, and answered. Jessica's voice, full of suspicion, came through the line. Chloe, what's going on? It's almost noon, and you're not back on campus. In her entire time at Westwood, Chloe had never once stayed out all night. Noon? Chloe asked, still half asleep. But then her expression froze. She felt a heavy weight on her body, specifically on her chest. A second later, she screamed, Ethan, get off of me. Ethan? Jessica's voice on the phone was sharp with shock. Chloe, did you stay out all night with him? Did you guys get a room? Jess, I gotta go. I'll explain later, Chloe said quickly, then hung up. Awakened by the scream, I slowly opened my eyes. I felt my hand resting on something very soft, and I instinctively gave it a little squeeze. Stop moving, she yelped, her face turning crimson. I sat up, still dazed, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. Chloe, what's wrong? The next thing I knew, a hand was flying toward my face, and a sharp sting exploded across my cheek. You have the nerve to ask me what's wrong? She said, her voice a mixture of shame and anger. I was completely bewildered. Why did I get slapped the moment I woke up? I hadn't done anything last night. Chloe's face was so red it looked like it was about to burst. Your hand, she stammered. It was on my. She couldn't bring herself to finish the sentence. Oh, I said, suddenly wide awake. I quickly tried to explain. I didn't mean to. Just stop talking, she said, scrambling out of bed. She shot me a death glare. We are never speaking of this again. And you are not to tell a single soul? Do you understand? I nodded vigorously. Got it. Understood. A second later, I sucked in a sharp breath through my teeth and began to rub my stinging cheek. I had to admit, for a girl her size, she packed a serious punch. Are you okay? She asked, her anger suddenly replaced by concern. She moved closer, reaching out to touch my face, but her hand landed on mine instead. The moment our skin touched, a jolt like an electric shock passed between us. She snatched her hand back as if burned, her eyes avoiding mine. I'm going to get ready, she stammered, before scrambling out of bed and disappearing into the bathroom. Seeing her retreat, I winced again, gently rubbing my cheek. Damn, she really hit me hard. I picked up my phone, switched to the front-facing camera, and saw a bright red handprint already starting to form. My eye twitched. My face was ruined. How was I supposed to go out in public like this? I got out of bed, and hearing the sound of the sink running, I knocked on the frosted glass door of the bathroom. She opened the door. The blush had mostly faded from her cheeks, but she still wouldn't quite meet my eyes. What is it? She asked. I pointed to the now vivid red mark on my cheek, blocking her exit. My face is all red now. Don't you think you should take some responsibility for this? She stared at the perfect outline of her hand on my face for a second, then burst out laughing. I'm sorry, she giggled. I really tried not to laugh, but I can't help it. It just looks so ridiculous. My eye twitched. I took another step forward, cornering her. And besides, you had your way with me last night. You have to take responsibility for that, too. Her eyes went wide. What do you mean, I had my way with you? I didn't even touch you. But then a playful smile touched her lips. So what if I did? Nothing happened. So what is there to take responsibility for? She looked me up and down. Besides, you're a freshman and I'm a sophomore. You should be calling me ma'am. Ma'am? I repeated, a strange expression on my face. A man and a woman alone in a hotel room. That word choice was a little provocative. A playful impulse took over. I slowly advanced on her, backing her up against the sink. You know, ma'am, I said, my voice low, when you act like this, it makes a guy want to do something bad. She froze for a second, her body pressing back against the counter as I leaned in. With nowhere left to retreat, she lifted her chin defiantly, her eyes wide but trying to look calm. What are you doing? Chloe was tall, nearly 5'9", but I still had a few inches on her, forcing her to tilt her head back to look at me. I met her gaze, and in that moment, her stubborn defiance just made her look even more adorable. I leaned in close, my lips brushing against her ear as I whispered, as they say, worth it? Don't you dare, she stammered, trying to press herself further into the counter, but I was too close. So close she could smell the faint, unique scent of my skin. He's doing this on purpose. I just grinned, leaning in even closer. And what if I do? You're a pervert, she squeaked, squeezing her eyes shut, her heart hammering against her ribs. Asterisk, no way, is he gonna kiss me? Does, should I fight back? What should I do? Asterisk, she held her breath, her mind racing. Asterisk, oh, what the hell? It's just a kiss. It won't kill me. Asterisk, but then another fear struck her. What if he wanted to do more than just kiss? What would she do then? Would she say yes? Before she could spiral further, I suddenly laughed and gently flicked her on the forehead. You silly girl. If I really wanted to do something, do you think you'd still be standing here right now? She slowly opened her eyes. Asterisk, still standing here? What does that mean? Asterisk, a second later, the meaning hit her, and her face flushed a deep crimson. Ugh, pervert, she thought. I stepped around her, opened one of the complimentary toiletry kits, and prepared a toothbrush for her, squeezing on the toothpaste and filling a cup with water. I handed it to her. Here, brush your teeth. Then I'll take you to lunch, and we can head back to campus. She nodded, a little dazed, and took the toothbrush, silently starting to brush. But before we go, I added, you have to do one thing for me. She paused again. What now? Go down to the gift shop and buy me a face mask. This handprint isn't going to fade for hours. How am I supposed to go out in public like this? Ha ha ha. Good point, she laughed. Don't worry, I'll buy you the most handsome, stylish mask they have. I just rolled my eyes, then affectionately ruffled her hair. All right, go on, brush your teeth. With that, I left the bathroom. Chloe stood there, frozen. He just patted my head, but a second later, she pouted, an annoyed expression on her face. Asterisk after all that build-up, that's it? I was totally ready for him to kiss me, and he just pats my head? What a waste. Is he even a man? Asterisk she slammed the cup down on the counter and began to brush her teeth with a sulky vengeance. When she came out of the bathroom, I saw her pouty expression and was immediately confused. What's wrong? Why the long face? You were fine a minute ago. Nothing, she muttered, grabbing her phone and heading for the door. Where are you going? To buy you a mask, idiot. By the time she got back, I had finished getting ready. I saw she was holding 2 masks and asked, "Why'd you buy 2? I only need 1. Because I felt like it," she retorted, putting on one of the black masks and handing the other to me. Here, this should cover up that handprint. I gave her a long look, then took the mask and put it on. So, what do you want for lunch? Whatever's fine, she said. Nope, not allowed to say whatever. You pick. Okay, then guess where I'm going to take you. Hot pot. You got it. After leaving the hotel, we found a nearby hot pot restaurant. After a satisfying meal, we waited at a bus stop to head back to campus. She immediately took the window seat, and I sat down beside her. I pulled out my phone and a pair of earbuds, plugged them in, and offered one to her. Want to listen? Okay, she nodded. Before she could take it, I stood up, leaned over her, and carefully placed the earbud in her left ear. With my face just inches from hers, her heart began to beat faster. What are you doing so close? Putting your earbud in for you, I said with a smile. Why not the right ear? Because this is the left one, I said with a playful grin. After making sure it was secure, I sat back down. But if you'd prefer the other one, I can switch it. It's fine, she said, rolling her eyes. He's definitely doing this on purpose. After a few moments of silence, I asked, Thanksgiving is in a few days. Are you going home for the break? She shook her head. No, it's only a 3-day weekend. It's too much of a hassle to travel. She sighed. It's a shame, though. This is the second Thanksgiving I've missed since starting college. I really miss the big fireworks show they do over the harbor back home. It was a famous local spot, a small island that had formed in the middle of the river from centuries of shifting sands. Every year for major holidays, especially Thanksgiving, the town would get a permit to set off a huge fireworks display from the island. But here in DC, with its strict fireworks ban, she hadn't seen a real display in years. You really miss it, huh? I asked, turning to look at her. Come to think of it, since I'd left my own hometown of Charleston, South Carolina, I hadn't seen a good fireworks show either. A little, she said with a shrug. But it's just wishful thinking. They don't allow fireworks in DC. I gave her a mysterious smile. That's not entirely true. How would you know? How about we make a bet? She asked. What are the stakes? I grinned. If there are fireworks on Thanksgiving night, you have to kiss me. Deal? And if there aren't? She countered. Then I'll kiss you, I said. So either way, you win. I'd be losing either way, she said, rolling her eyes. Only an idiot would take that bet. When we got back to campus, I helped her carry some takeout for her roommates, then walked her to her dorm. When I got back to my room, the guys still weren't there. They had apparently decided to stay out all night too. Over in the women's dorm, Chloe and her roommates didn't have any morning classes, so they were just hanging out in their room. Jessica was napping, and their other 2 roommates had gone to the library. Chloe, however, was staring intently at her laptop, tracking the stock market. It was this sharp financial instinct that had already caught the attention of several professors in the business school. In her freshman year alone, using $20,000 of seed money from her parents, she had made a $30,000 profit, a 150% return. Just then, a new email notification popped up on her screen. She stared at the sender for a second, then quickly clicked it open. It was an official email from the Westwood University administration. No way, she thought. Is this for real? After scanning the contents of the email, she let out a shriek of pure joy. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Professor Sterling wants to accept me into her accelerated master's/PhD program. The Professor Sterling she was talking about was a legend in the finance department, one of the leading economic authorities in the country who had even helped draft federal financial regulations. Chloe had dreamed of applying to be her graduate student, but to be personally invited into her accelerated doctoral program, skipping the application process entirely, was beyond her wildest dreams. It meant that as soon as she finished her bachelor's degree, she could start her PhD work with her. She immediately grabbed her phone and sent me a text. Ethan, Professor Sterling just invited me to join her accelerated PhD program. She's one of the top economists in the country. Jessica leaned over, her eyes wide. Chloe, you don't mean Professor Sterling? The one who told you last semester she hoped you'd apply to her grad program. In their business school, every student knew her name. That's the one. Chloe nodded, beaming. Quick, call the others and tell them to come back. Lunch is on me today. We're going out to celebrate. Becoming one of Professor Sterling's protégés was a golden ticket. In the future, any top firm on Wall Street would roll out the red carpet for her. When I still hadn't replied a few minutes later, she sent another text. What are you doing? I saw the message and smiled, typing back, what's this? Hasn't even been a full day and you already miss me? No, I don't. She immediately texted back. I chuckled. Well, to celebrate your good news, shouldn't you treat me to lunch? Shouldn't you be treating me? She replied, half laughing, half exasperated. Then she added, but I'm busy for lunch. I paused. That busy? Not even time for a quick bite. She replied, I'm taking my roommates out for lunch, but I'm free tonight. That evening, as the setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and red, I stood waiting outside Chloe's dorm. After a few minutes, she came bouncing down the front steps in a flowing white dress. She came to a stop in front of me, a bright smile on her face. Have you been waiting long? I shook my head. No, I just got here. I smiled. So, have you decided what you're in the mood for tonight? She wrinkled her nose cutely. Let's go to the dining hall. I heard the North Campus one has a new Szechuan place that's supposed to be amazing. I haven't had a chance to try it yet. Sounds good to me, I said with a nod, and we started walking toward the North Campus dining hall. She walked quietly beside me, and as she glanced at my profile, she felt her heart begin to flutter. Should she tell him how happy she'd been all day? After getting the news, she had been practically floating. She'd been skipping down the path and almost tripped. She'd even petted the grumpy orange cat that lived by the library. In her advanced calculus class, she'd burst out laughing in the middle of a problem set, earning a sharp glare from her notoriously strict professor. But now, walking beside me, even the evening breeze felt softer. Just then, I turned to her, a playful glint in my eye. Staring at me for so long. Have you seen enough yet? Staring? She asked, her cheeks flushing. Oh no, he caught me. She quickly shook her head. I wasn't looking at you. Don't be so conceited. I didn't say anything, just kept looking at her with that same playful expression. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. Why are you staring at me like that? She asked, her face beet red. Because you're beautiful, I said simply. I got lost in the view. Chloe's brow furrowed. Asterisk, oh my god. Does he have to be so smooth? I can't handle this. Asterisk, she shot me a glare, then jogged ahead. Whatever. Let's just go eat. The next day was Thanksgiving. At 8 o'clock that evening, Jessica was aimlessly scrolling through TikTok in their dorm room. She looked up at Chloe. I'm so bored. We should go out and do something. Before Chloe could answer, one of their other roommates laughed. And do what? Don't you know every holiday is just an excuse for couples to engage in public displays of affection? You want to go out and be the fifth wheel all night. The last one chimed in, yeah, no thanks. I'd rather not see it. Chloe sighed quietly. What's with the sigh? Jessica asked, noticing her friend's mood. You seem down. Are you homesick? Not really, Chloe said with a shrug, her eyes drifting back to her phone. I had sent her a good morning text, but not even a happy Thanksgiving, and she hadn't heard from me since. You jerk, she thought. Couldn't you at least send one text? Back at the lab, I wiped a bead of sweat from my forehead and looked at the rows of small, palm-sized drones laid out before me. Each one had been fitted with a multicolored LED light. After wiping my brow, I spoke to the empty room. Oracle, run a connectivity diagnostic on all units. Affirmative, Director, a synthesized voice replied. A second later, the LEDs on every drone flashed in sequence. I nodded, satisfied. Excellent. Oracle, initiate fireworks protocol. Target location, Westwood University main quad. One by one, the small drones lifted off the floor and under Oracle's precise control, flew out the open window in a single silent line, heading for the university. I picked up my phone and placed a FaceTime call to Chloe. She answered immediately. Ethan, what's up? I smiled. Go out onto your balcony. My balcony? She asked, confused. He ignores me all day and then calls and tells me to go out on my balcony? But she did as I asked, carrying her phone with her. Her dorm room had a perfect, unobstructed view of the main quad. Are you there? I asked. She nodded. I'm here. Look up. Look up, she repeated, still confused. But when she did, she froze, her jaw dropping in astonishment. Over the quad, a swarm of 500 small, dark drones ascended in perfect unison, disappearing into the night sky. A moment later, a single point of light appeared high above, which then exploded outward into a shower of multicolored lights, a silent, shimmering firework made of drones. The fireworks then began to shift and morph, creating new, intricate patterns in the sky. "Did you do this?" she whispered into the phone. I sighed dramatically. "Yeah, it took me all day. I really hadn't anticipated how long it would take to calibrate all 500 of them." Chloe suddenly laughed. "Hold on, I have to make a wish." "What are you wishing for?" I asked. "You guess," she said. I chuckled. "I have no idea. You're not wishing for me to have a long and prosperous life, are you?" "And what if I am?" she replied softly. I was speechless for a moment. Then, her voice came through the phone again, soft but firm. "Ethan, let's meet. Right now." It took me a second to process her words. Then I answered, my voice a little tight. "Okay, where?" "The quad." By then, Jessica and the other roommates had rushed out onto the balcony. "Oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Seriously, if a guy did this for me, I'd marry him on the spot. Which one of our school's secret billionaires is this, trying to win over his girl? I'm so jealous. This is the most romantic thing ever." Then they noticed Chloe grabbing her keys, about to leave. Jessica turned to her. "Chloe, where are you going?" "Out," she said, offering no further explanation as she hurried out the door. Meanwhile, I had made my way to the main quad. The lights along the quad's pathways were on, illuminating the couples sitting on the grass, groups of friends laughing and playing games, and a small crowd gathered around the university's acoustic music club, which was putting on an impromptu performance. And there, in the spot we'd agreed to meet, I saw her waiting for me. I jogged over to her. "Sorry, have you been waiting long?" "No, I just got here," she said, shaking her head. She sat down on an empty patch of grass and patted the spot next to her. "Sit." I sat down beside her. A gentle breeze drifted by, carrying the faint, sweet scent of her perfume. She smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Close your eyes. Time to pay up on that bet?" I asked with a grin. "Just close your eyes," she insisted, her voice playful. I smiled and did as she asked. She hesitated for a second, then leaned in and gave me a quick, light kiss on the cheek. My eyes snapped open. She looked a little flustered. "Don't read anything into it. That was just to settle our bet from the bus. Nothing more." I smiled. "Are you sure it was just about the bet? What more do you want?" she asked, a hint of a pout on her lips. I reached over and pulled her into my lap, so she was facing me. In the soft light of the campus lamps, our eyes locked. She grew nervous. What are you doing? Have you ever heard the expression?" I asked, my gaze intense. "Tit for tat?" Her heart skipped a beat, then began to pound in her chest. So, you have to kiss me back." And before she could react, I closed the distance between us and kissed her. Her mind went completely blank. Wow, no fair. That was a sneak attack. After a long moment, she pulled away, her face flushed, and gave me a playful glare. "You're terrible. Nice guys finish last," I said with a shrug. I smiled at her. "So, did you hear what I said before?" "Which part?" she asked, playing dumb. "That I like you." "I didn't hear you," she said, a grin spreading across her face. "Say it again." "I like you." She laughed. "Since when? How long have you liked me?" I pulled her close again, my voice soft. "I'm not sure. It feels like I've known it forever, from the first moment I saw you." "So, is this you officially asking me out?" she asked, settling comfortably into my arms. She wrinkled her nose. "I feel like if I say yes right away, I'm getting the short end of the stick. You should say a few more nice things to convince me. Maybe if you make me happy enough, I'll agree. What do you want to hear?" "Whatever you want to say." I thought for a moment, looking up at the stars that dotted the night sky. "You know the universe started with a big bang, right?" She nodded. "I know. So every atom in your body was once part of a star that exploded. The atoms in your left hand might have come from a different star than the ones in your right. The atoms that make up a single strand of your hair could have come from 100 billion different stars." She looked up at me. "And so, you are my universe." The next day, after my morning class, I checked my phone. It was almost noon. I opened Facebook and saw a photo Chloe had posted a couple of hours earlier. It was a picture of one of her roommates leaning against a soccer goal, with the caption, "Enjoying this beautiful sunny day." I thought for a second, then sent her a private message. "I like the dress you're wearing in your new picture. I'd like to take it out to lunch. If it's not too much trouble, you can come along too." For the past 2 days, ever since Thanksgiving night, she'd been avoiding me, saying she needed a couple of days to think about it, and refusing to talk about anything else. A few seconds later, a reply came through. "Sorry, the dress is busy. It's out shopping with its beautiful and charming owner." I smiled, and ended up joining her and her friends on their shopping trip. It was after 9 by the time we all got back to campus. Since she was with her friends, she didn't let me walk her back to her dorm, saying she'd just go with them. I headed back to my own room. The moment I opened the door, Leo, Ben, and Mike dropped what they were doing and pulled their desk chairs into a line facing me. "Master, teach us your ways," Leo declared. "We'll even pay for lessons. We are ready to learn." I stared at them, completely confused. "What are you guys doing?" "We're here for your lecture," Ben said, his face a mask of pure admiration. "We've only been here a few weeks, and you've already landed the most unattainable girl on campus. We're your roommates, your brothers in arms. You have to share your secrets." Mike and Leo chimed in. "Yeah, Ethan, don't hold out on us. We're all still single. You gotta teach us your moves." "Oh, it's simple," I said with a laugh. So that's what this was about. I looked at the three of them. There's no real trick to it. It's mostly my face. To be honest, she's just obsessed with my incredible good looks. All three of them rolled their eyes in perfect unison. "Get out of here. You're so shameless." "Whatever, dude. You're unbelievably arrogant. You know that?" Later that night, after showering, I sat down at my desk. I picked up my phone and saw a message from Chloe that had come in a few minutes earlier. "What are you up to?" I smiled and typed back, "Just got out of the shower. About to do some reading for a class." Her reply was immediate. "Oh, okay. Well, I won't bother you then. Good luck with your work." She added a little thumbs up emoji. I smiled and texted back, "It's fine. I can still talk." After sending the text, I turned on my laptop, logged into my iMessage account, and opened the Oracle interface. I had already uploaded Oracle's core programming to the cloud. It didn't need a physical server, but existed as a decentralized entity across the global network. In essence, every computer connected to the internet acted as a potential node for its distributed processing, giving it near-infinite computing power. The program on my laptop was merely a terminal to access it. In her dorm room, Chloe saw my reply and a small smile touched her lips. "No, it's okay. I'm just going to read," she texted back, then set her phone aside. She wouldn't use love as a chain to bind me. I was free to pursue my passions, to be who I was meant to be. All she hoped was that, in everything I did, I would think of her. That was enough, because she knew the boy she had fallen for was destined for great things, and she was lucky enough to be the one I chose. Good things come to those who wait, so she would wait. One day, they would be curled up on the same sofa, reading the same book, watching the same movie. I saw her message and smiled. We didn't need to be together every second of every day. Just knowing the other was there was enough. I knew she wouldn't leave, and she knew I would never change. We could both be busy with our own lives, but always have each other in our hearts. That, to me, was the ideal love. After a few minutes, I sent her another text. "I miss you." She replied instantly. "Finished your work already? How can you be researching and texting back so fast?" "I'm not finished," I replied. "I just suddenly thought of you." "How much?" she texted back, a smile on her face. I stared at the screen, thinking for a moment. A minute later, another message from her popped up. "Hello? Did you disappear again?" I quickly typed back, "I'm here." Then I sent another message. "I was just trying to figure out how to answer your question. I guess my vocabulary isn't good enough because I couldn't think of the right words. Sorry, but I did just spend a full 60 seconds thinking only about you." A moment later, another text. "And now it's been 61 seconds. How can he be like this?" Chloe thought, her face flushing. Asterisk, did he suddenly get a personality transplant? This is way too smooth. I can't handle it. Asterisk, her roommates noticed her expression and immediately abandoned the celebrity gossip on Twitter for the live drama in their room. "What is it? What happened?" "It's nothing," Chloe said, shaking her head, a huge grin on her face. Jessica rolled her eyes. "Your smile is so wide it's about to split your face in two. You expect us to believe it's nothing?" After a few more minutes of texting with me, Chloe glanced at the clock. It was almost 11. She sent me another message. "When can I go to sleep?" I froze. Asterisk, sleep with me? What did she mean by that? We just got together, and she's already bringing this up? Asterisk, I had to suppress a laugh. I took a deep breath and typed back, "Are you sure? We can, but you'll have to take responsibility. I don't need any money, but you'll have to be responsible for me for the rest of your life." She was completely confused. She sent back a series of confused emojis. Then another text. "Ethan, what are you talking about? I meant, when are you going to sleep? Get it? I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I wasn't asking to sleep with you. Understand?" After sending it, she couldn't help but laugh. They'd only been together for a day and his true colors were already showing. She sent another teasing text. "Aha! You're busted. Just admit it, you're only with me for my body, aren't you? I laughed and typed back, honestly, if I was dating you and I wasn't attracted to your body, we might as well just be friends, right? She stared at the message, her face turning a deep shade of red. He kind of had a point. She quickly shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. Asterisk Chloe, what are you thinking? Get your mind out of the gutter. Asterisk she texted back. So, should I come over tonight? My heart started to race. Are you serious? In your dreams, she texted back, giggling in her chair. We'll discuss that later. When you've served your queen well and made her happy, then maybe I'll grant you an audience in my royal chambers. I replied, as you command, your majesty. The next morning, I was having breakfast with Chloe in the dining hall. I looked up and saw her staring at me intently. Meeting my gaze, she smiled, picked up a piece of her breakfast sausage with her fork, and held it out to me. Open up, a reward for you. I wasn't about to refuse. I leaned forward and ate it right off her fork. But a second later, I felt a distinct chill run down my spine. The dining hall was crowded, and Chloe, as always, was the center of attention. Seeing her feed me, 100 pairs of resentful male eyes turned in my direction. That lucky bastard. He's getting fed by Chloe herself. Does the guy not have hands? Why does she have to feed him? I, for one, have hands. If they want to be like that, can't they just get a room? Why do they have to flaunt it in the dining hall? In a corner of the cafeteria, Nathan Scott sat with another guy, watching Chloe and me with an expression of pure agony. The guy sitting across from him tried to comfort him. Don't worry about it, Nathan. I did some digging on that guy with Chloe. He's just a freshman in our department. Between you, the future student body president, and me, the head RA, you think we can't take care of one little freshman? Nathan shot him a cold glare, then sighed. Forget it. Don't do anything stupid. I'll wait for her. As long as she's not married, I'll wait. The other guy looked hurt. Are you really going to torture yourself like this over a girl? You know, sometimes the right person is right in front of you. Right in front of me? Nathan asked, confused. Who are you talking about? The guy took a deep breath. Nathan, I always thought I was straight. I've only ever been into girls. But then I met you. You're so amazing. I admire you so much. And slowly, I started to care about you. Now I don't think anyone is more important to me than you. I would do anything for you. He looked at Nathan expectantly. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nathan's I started to twitch. I think I get the gist of it. Not all of it, but the gist. But I'm straight. The other guy looked crestfallen. So, can we still be friends? We'll talk about it later, Nathan said, trying to keep his expression neutral. But one thing's for sure, he thought, I am never, ever going to the gym showers with you again. Back at our table, as we were finishing breakfast, Chloe looked up at me with a smile. Any plans for this afternoon? Not really, why? I asked. Nothing important, she said with a grin. I just don't have any classes this afternoon, and I heard there's a good movie that just came out. I was thinking we could go see it. Then she quickly added, but if you're busy, it's no big deal. I see, I said, thinking for a moment. Who's going? Just the two of us, of course. I nodded. If it's just the two of us, I can be free by noon. We could even grab lunch before the movie. Sounds perfect. After breakfast, she headed off to her class, and I brought some food from the dining hall back to my dorm for the guys. When I walked in, they were all up, crowded around the sink brushing their teeth. I grinned. Boys, your dad is home. Ben quickly finished brushing and shot back. Well, look who it is, my favorite son. You're finally back. I held up the bags of food. Ben was instantly in front of me. Dad, you're my favorite person in the whole world. This was probably why guys' dorms were generally more laid back than girls' dorms. Between fathers and sons, there's no such thing as holding a grudge. Since none of them had morning classes either, after they finished eating, Leo was already on his headset. All right guys, who's getting on? My Yasuo is on fire today. Ben rolled his eyes. Your Yasuo? Dude, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but if you hadn't messed up that last team fight, we would have won last night. Mike nodded in agreement. Yeah, I played that last game perfectly. My lane control was immaculate, and we still lost. It was definitely your fault, Leo. Then he turned to me. What about you, Ethan? Want to play a few rounds with us? You guys go ahead, I said with a small smile. I'm not very good at that game. I just hold you back. With that, I left the room. After waiting a few minutes outside the dorm, Chloe came bouncing up to me, having changed into another cute dress. She looked up at me with a grin. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go get lunch. I nodded, and we hailed a cab at the campus gate and headed downtown. Chloe bought the movie tickets on her phone on the way, and then I took her to a hot pot place near the theater. As soon as we sat down, she flagged down a waiter, ready to order. She ordered a few standard things like thinly sliced beef and vegetables. As the waitress walked away, Chloe watched her go, then said, "Wow, I love her lipstick color. Isn't it just red?" I asked, genuinely curious. I've never understood how you girls can tell all those different shades apart. Like crimson, scarlet, ruby, they all just look red to me. Well, I don't understand how you guys can tell all the different Power Rangers apart, she retorted with a laugh. How about a little test? Can you guess what shade I'm wearing today? Nope, I said, giving up immediately. She giggled. I'm wearing the same shade as the waitress. It's Dior 999. It's super popular right now, you know? When it came to makeup, she really knew her stuff. My eye twitched. You can tell just by looking? She nodded smugly. If you don't believe me, we can ask her when she brings our food. Sure enough, when the waitress returned with our order, Chloe stopped her before she could leave. Excuse me, she said. Is that lipstick you're wearing Dior 999? Yes, it is, the waitress confirmed with a nod. Chloe turned to me, a triumphant grin on her face. See, I told you so, and you didn't believe me. I looked from the waitress to Chloe, still confused. But that's not right. Hers looks darker than yours. Chloe shot me a glare. And whose fault do you think that is? I wonder who was being so naughty in the back of the cab on the way here. Oh, I said, a slow, doting smile spreading across my face as I remembered. Right, my fault. The waitress just stood there, looking uncomfortable. Asterisk, I'm just trying to do my job here, people. I don't need to see this. Asterisk, the moment the waitress was gone, Chloe burst out laughing. Haha, Ethan, you're terrible. What did I do? I asked, genuinely confused. The way that waitress was looking at us, I thought she was going to murder us both. Doesn't she have a boyfriend? I asked. Chloe just shook her head. You're hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. After we finished lunch, Chloe led me to the nearby movie theater. The moment I stepped inside, a wave of nostalgia washed over me. It was the first time I'd been to a movie theater in 3 years. And this time, Chloe was by my side. Feels strange, doesn't it? Been a while? She asked, smiling up at me. Yeah, I said, a wistful note in my voice. The last time I was here was back in high school with you. It feels like a lifetime ago. It was the summer between our sophomore and junior years. We had gone with a group of friends. That was the same summer I was recruited, the summer I left for Nevada and began my 3-year journey into the world of classified research. Looking back, if I had known it would be the last time I'd see a movie with her for 3 years, I would have dressed better. Well then, she said with a smile, let's make some new memories. She took my hand and led me toward the ticket kiosk. The most incredible thing was that 3 years ago, we had sat side by side in the same classroom, dreaming about what our lives would be like after graduation. And now, here we were, walking side by side into that future, together. Even though 3 years had separated us, we had the future ahead of us. Another 3 years, another 13, maybe even another 30. And we would face it all hand in hand. We were early for our movie, so we found a small sofa in the lobby to wait. She curled up against me and looked up, a playful smile on her face. Ethan, did you have a crush on me 3 years ago? I guess you could say that, I said with a smile. She pouted. What do you mean, you guess? That's such a non-answer. I shook my head slowly. Because for me, it was love at first sight. Then why didn't you tell me? She asked. What if we stopped being friends? I totally would have said yes. She grinned, then wrinkled her nose and gave me a playful glare. But love at first sight is usually just lust at first sight. So you're admitting you were checking me out from day one? What kind of twisted logic is that? I said, gently ruffling her hair. To me, love at first sight is when your soul recognizes its other half. It's an attraction on a deeper level, when two minds are perfectly in sync. In physics terms, you could call it quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement? She asked, a little confused. But she didn't press the issue, just hugged me tighter, a secret smile on her face. You're so full of it. You should write a book. I considered it seriously for a moment. If I ever find the time, that's not a bad idea. She stared at me, dumbfounded. Asterisk, I was just joking, and he's actually considering it? He really wants to write a book? Asterisk, but then she couldn't help but smile. So, I was your secret crush too. I looked down at her. What are you smiling about? Just because, she said, making a silly face at me. Then her expression turned curious. But why me? Why do you like me? Chloe continued slowly. I have a bad temper. I can be petty, I'm possessive, and I almost never say what I actually mean. I'm telling you, I get super jealous. But when I do, I'll be too proud to tell you. so I'll just end up fuming all by myself. I'm just so selfish. You're mine, and I don't want anyone else to even like you. She knew she was beautiful, but she also knew I was no slouch. And she knew that in the future, I would only become more successful, and might even meet someone better than her. What would happen to them then? At the thought, her long eyelashes fluttered. With me being like this, she asked quietly, will you still like me? I was too brilliant, so brilliant that she felt her own light dimmed in my presence. Of course I will, I answered without a moment's hesitation. And why is that? She pressed. Some things the heart decides, the mouth can't explain, I said, looking at her gently. But if you need reasons, I can give you some. You're smart, you're kind, you're adorable. But I just ran through every compliment I could think of, and none of those simple words, can truly explain why I want to be with you. But I do know the main reason is that you, in your entirety, are perfectly suited to me. So you could say it's selfish of me, that I want to keep you by my side for my own sake. So you should never feel like my love is a burden, or something you have to be grateful for. The one I love is you, and only you. So with me, you don't have to grow up if you don't want to. You don't have to make the first move. It's okay if you're nervous or shy, and it's okay if you say the opposite of what you mean. My job is to understand you. Chloe's heart began to hammer in her chest. Oh my God, what was he saying? It was so cheesy, it was almost painful. If she hadn't known him since high school, if she hadn't known this was his first real relationship, she would have sworn he was some kind of experienced player. What girl could possibly resist that? She took a deep breath and looked at me, a radiant smile on her face. So, how long will you like me for? I tilted my head, thinking for a second. As long as you're willing to listen to me talk all this nonsense. Then I looked down at her. And what about you? How long will you like me? Me? She said, snuggling deeper into my arms. She shook her head playfully and blinked. That answer would take too long. Let's just say, how long are you planning on living? She then burrowed even closer. Mr. Miller, you should know, a lifetime with you wouldn't be long enough. I couldn't help but laugh. Well, in that case, I plan on living for a very, very long time. Then you'll just have to wait and see, she said with a mischievous grin. And I'm telling you now, you're not allowed to be too nice to other girls. I'll get jealous, I'll stomp my feet, I might even throw a tantrum on the floor until you pick me up. We'll see how you handle that. I smiled, my heart filled with affection. I can agree to that, but you have to promise me something in return. What is it? She asked. I held her a little tighter. From now on, when you're angry or jealous, don't push me away. And please, don't say it's nothing when I ask you what's wrong. Don't keep things bottled up and stew by yourself, and don't secretly hold things against me. Your heart only has room for me. There's no space in there for unhappiness. Is that all? She asked, tilting her head up to look at me. That's all. Then I promise, she said with a bright laugh. She then pressed herself against me, her chest tight against mine, and whispered in my ear, listen, see if you can hear my heart beating. Ah! I froze. The sweet scent of her perfume, the softness of her chest against mine. A jolt of electricity shot through me, and my whole body went rigid. This was a little intense. At the end of the day, I was still just a 19-year-old guy. How was I supposed to handle this? Suddenly, I had no idea what to do with my hands. Just then, she breathed warmly against my ear again. Is my chest too thick? Otherwise, you'd definitely be able to hear my heart pounding. I gently ran my hand through her soft hair. My dear Miss Davis, I forgot to mention something earlier. I thank whatever higher power exists that I met you, and I hope that I can be the one who stays by your side, always. We stayed like that for a while, just holding each other on the lobby sofa. When it was almost time for the movie to start, she reluctantly pulled away. It's almost time, she said with a bright smile. We should head in. I nodded and gently took her hand. After scanning the QR code on her phone to get our tickets, she pointed to the concession stand. Ethan, I want to get some popcorn. Jess told me this movie is supposed to be amazing. It has really high ratings online. I glanced down at the tickets. It was a romance. In my experience, most of them were pretty formulaic. But seeing the excited look on her face, I just smiled. All right, let's go get some popcorn. When we got to the counter, I glanced over at her. Are you okay with a cold drink today? She looked at me, a little confused. Yeah, why? I just smiled. Nothing, just asking. I turned to the person behind the counter. We'll have 2 large Cokes and a large popcorn, please. That'll be $24.50, the employee said, starting to scoop the popcorn. I suddenly grinned and glanced at Chloe. If I'm a little short, can I have her wash dishes to cover the rest? The employee behind the counter couldn't help but chuckle. Chloe, however, just rolled her eyes, and with a practiced motion, pinched the skin on my side and twisted hard. What did you just say? I sucked in a sharp breath through my teeth. Ahem, I said to the employee, forcing a smile. Just kidding. Please, continue. The employee just shook their head. Why don't these two just get a room already? With our popcorn and cokes in hand, we headed into the theater. The movie's high rating must have been accurate, because the theater was already packed. I led Chloe to the love seat in the very back row. Soon, the lights dimmed, the familiar MPAA rating card appeared on screen, and the movie began. It was a pretty standard romantic comedy, a story of a sweet high school romance followed by a more passionate college love affair. From the opening scene, Chloe was completely captivated. Just then, I reached into the popcorn bucket. A second later, her hand went in too. Our fingers brushed against each other, and with a mischievous grin, she stole the piece of popcorn I had just grabbed. I turned to her. You're going to steal the popcorn right out of my hand? She stuck her tongue out at me. Popcorn always tastes better when it's stolen. Are you sure about that? I asked, a playful smile on my face. What are you planning on doing? She asked, giving me a defiant look. I'm not scared of you, you know? My smile widened. You're really not scared? Nope, she insisted, though her voice was a little less certain. Then you just wait, I said, putting down the popcorn and slowly leaning toward her. Since we were in a love seat, there was no armrest between us. Don't you dare, she stammered. As I moved closer, she shrank back in her seat, her hand flying to her mouth. Don't you do anything. I just grinned. You didn't really think we came here just to watch the movie, did you? There are cameras, she squeaked. I gently pulled her hand away from her mouth and kissed her. It's fine, I whispered against her lips. They don't usually check them. After a long moment, she pushed me away, her face burning. She stared at me, stammering, your hand, where was it just now? If it hadn't been so dark in the theater, I'm sure her face would have been the color of a ripe tomato. Cleared my throat. Well, my hand had to go somewhere. Pervert, she muttered, then shot me another glare. You liar. You said you weren't just after my body, and asking me if I could have a cold drink. You were planning this all along, weren't you? I'm always planning something when it comes to you, I admitted with a slow grin. I never said I didn't want you. I want all of you, from the tips of your hair to your fingertips. Love isn't some sacred temple. It's a living, breathing city, with lights that never go out. Whatever. Just watch the movie, she said, rolling her eyes. But a second later, her soft, warm hand found mine in the dark and laced her fingers through mine. The rest of the movie passed without incident, until the very end, when the director hit us with a sudden, tragic plot twist. It was a shameless tearjerker, and it worked. Tears started streaming down Chloe's face. Seeing her cry, I pulled out the wad of napkins I'd pocketed from the restaurant earlier. I smiled at her, a little helplessly. Come here. Look at you, you're a mess. Let me wipe your tears. How can you be smiling? She sobbed. That was so sad. She then looked at me, her eyes narrowed. What happened to all those sweet nothings from before? Where are they now? I'm crying here, and not only are you not comforting me, you're laughing at me. You're the worst. I was stunned. I was supposed to comfort her for this? After a moment's hesitation, I asked, a little uncertainly, come here, sweetheart. Want me to lick your tears away? Her tears stopped instantly. She stared at me as if I had just grown a second head. What did you just say? Come here, sweetheart, I repeated. Let me lick your tears away. She clapped a hand over her mouth, but a snort of laughter escaped. She leaned in close. Has anyone ever told you how weird you are sometimes? Haha, sweetheart, where did you even come up with that? She really couldn't hold it in. The movie ended, the credits rolled, and the house lights came up. People began to file out of the theater. I took her hand, ruffling her hair with my other. All right, movie's over. What are you in the mood for? I'll treat you to something good. Why are you suddenly buying me food? She asked, looking up at me. I smiled. It's a reward for not crying for too long. Are you treating me like a 3-year-old? She asked. Can't I? She thought for a second. In that case, I want a candy apple. 2 of them. If you want them, I said, I'll buy you the whole cart. After leaving the theater, we were back on the busy street. I spotted a vendor selling candy apples across the road. The traffic was heavy, so I ruffled her hair. You wait here. I'll go get them for you. Okay, she said with a docile nod. I carefully crossed the street and went up to the vendor. Sir, I said with a smile, could I get 2 of your biggest and best candy apples? The vendor grinned. Son, all my apples are the biggest and the best. But hold on, I'll find you 2 extra special ones. As he picked them out, I glanced back across the street at Chloe, who was waiting patiently. The vendor chuckled. Buying them for your girlfriend, huh? Yeah, I nodded. You know how it is. The more you spoil them, the sweeter they get. After he had picked out 2 perfect apples and wrapped them up, he handed them to me. Thanks, I said, paying him. I then carefully crossed the street again and went back to Chloe. What were you and the vendor whispering about? She asked with a curious smile. I was just telling him my little piggy wanted a candy apple. You're the little piggy, she retorted, rolling her eyes. Then she smiled. All right, should we head back to campus now? I laughed. We came all the way out here just for a movie? What else is there to do? She asked. Let's just walk around for a bit, I suggested. Okay, she agreed. We wandered the city until well after 11, sampling food from what felt like every street vendor in DC. Finally, Chloe stopped and looked at me. Can we go back now? I checked the time on my phone, then said, a little reluctantly, all right, I guess it is getting pretty late. I'll get a cab then, she said, starting to wave at the passing cars. I felt a strange sense of disappointment. Was that it? We were just going back? She looked at me, a blush creeping up her cheeks. It's late. What else would we do? I have an early class tomorrow. Oh, I said, a little flustered. I just meant, should we grab some food to bring back for your roommates? She shook her head. No, if we stop for more food, we'll miss the dorm curfew. Just then, a cab pulled over, and by sheer coincidence, it was the same driver who had brought us downtown. Well, look at that. It's you two again. What a coincidence, the driver said with a grin. Heading back to campus? Yes, Chloe nodded. Hop in. We got into the cab. Sir, Chloe said immediately, our dorms lock at midnight. Could you please hurry? I quickly interjected, safety first. It's okay if we're a little late. What are you trying to pull? She whispered, shooting me a glare, her face flushing. The driver just laughed. Ha ha ha. Don't you worry. I was a driver in the army. My skills are top-notch. Then he nodded. But the kid's right. Safety first. With that, he floored it. By the time we got to her dorm, it was very late, and the campus was quiet, with only a few other couples strolling in the darkness. I was silently running some calculations in my head. Noticing my distracted air, Chloe asked, What's wrong? You seem a little down. I suddenly looked up, an indignant expression on my face. He was speeding. That driver was definitely speeding. That's a 40-minute drive, and he made it in 20. He was definitely breaking the law. She stared at me for a second, then burst out laughing. Don't tell me you've been calculating his speed this whole walk back from the gate? What else would I be doing? I retorted. Come with me, she said, a wide grin on her face. She took my hand and pulled me into a dark, secluded corner by the side of the building. What's this? I asked, a smile playing on my lips. Are you trying to have your way with me? What if I am? She shot back. I glanced around the dark corner and spread my arms wide. Well, if you're going to, you'd better get on with it. She quickly stepped forward, stood on her tiptoes, and planted a firm kiss on my forehead. She then gently cupped my face in her hands. Don't be sad anymore, okay? I smiled and pointed to my lips. Here too. Nope, she said, shaking her head firmly. The doctor says goodnight kisses are only for the forehead. Otherwise, little boys get cavities. I just smiled and patted her on the head. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then she looked up at me, her expression serious. Ethan, will you stay with me until we're old? Of course, I said without hesitation. We'll be together and in love until we're 80. And what happens when we're 81? She teased. Do we start fighting then? I laughed and shook my head. I just suddenly want to see 60 years into the future. I want to see if we're still together. I want to see how many kids we have, and if we go to senior citizen dance classes together. And when our grandkids ask me how I managed to win you over, I'll tell them, no, it was your grandma who chased after me. And when she was your age, she was even cuter than you are now. My tone then shifted to a conspiratorial whisper. And if they don't want to brush their teeth, I'll tell them, if you don't brush, you'll end up like your grandma, a grumpy old lady with no teeth. You're terrible, she said, swatting my arm. You're the grumpy old lady. You're the toothless old man. I looked down at her beautiful, indignant face, and in that quiet moment, I could hear the beating of my own heart. I gently cupped her face in my hands and playfully tapped the end of her nose. All right, be good now. Stop fighting. I won't, she said, still defiant. I just smiled. Don't be so stubborn. No matter how tough you talk, your lips are still soft when I kiss them. How soft? She challenged. And before she could say another word, I leaned down and showed her. After a long, breathless moment, I pulled back slightly and looked at her. She had a contented, happy smile on her face, and seeing it, I couldn't help but smile too. Maybe it was just being with someone so wonderful, but suddenly, life didn't seem so hard anymore. No matter what challenges lay ahead, just the thought of her was enough to make me smile. The most beautiful thing in the world is seeing the smile of the person you love. And what's even more beautiful is knowing that you're the reason for that smile. My dearest Chloe, I will be as faithful to you as I am to my country.